Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Went Rogue and Joined Forces with DxD, Ruby and Blake Part 1. Before we start, please go support DarkUnknownReader for writing that awesome fanfic. Ruby along with Blake have returned to Beacon after they went out for coffee with John, Pyrrha, Coco, Velvet and Penny. When they come across a close Velvet hear Ashbin talking to Yang, Weiss, Glinda, Nora, Ren and Team CRDL. She tells the group about the people they trust in the room about Ruby and Blake, which made the group curious, so they decide to listen. The people in the room, they were talking about Blake's past as a white fawn while also talking about Ruby's silver eyes and how that was their only reason they still in the school was because Blake's knowledge and Ruby's eyes, but if they don't make better process they were going to kick both out, send Blake to prison in Atlas. While with Ruby they are going to remove her eyes and give them to someone else that could probably use them. Ruby and Blake was on the verge to cry, but they held it in and they lose all life in their eyes. Their friends was about to comfort them, but they run towards their room, lock the door. Their friends are outside banging on the door, but nothing happens. When Penny punched the door down they see the window open and a note. On the note it says, "Whoever see this note, me and Ruby went rogue because of people we trust, don't look for us. With hate, Blake." Their friends cried. While in another world Izuku just finished training until he heard his friends and teacher calling him a weapon that when all for one is gone they throw away. He went to his room, write a note, says he become a rouge hero. But one day while the people have gone rogue was fighting some, they were sucked into a portal which they meet each other, they explore until they find another portal taking them to a new world. Chapter 1, Gone Rogue, Meeting and New World. Ruby and Blake had an amazing day, but soon it will turn into the worst day in their entire life. They have just been at a coffee shop hanging out with Pyrrha and her boyfriend / team leader John, Penny, Velvet and Coco. When they got back to Beacon they were going to their friends until they passed a door where Velvet ears perked up, which made the group turn around as to see what's wrong when Velvet motioned them and tell them about Ashbin, Glinda, Weiss, Yang, Ren, Nora and Team CRDL to come towards her, as she points to a door as they open it a little to make sure they could be heard what was being said in there. And what they heard made Ruby and Blake cry as they couldn't help but want to leave. Glinda, why is it we are keeping Miss Belladonna and Miss Rose? Blake is former member of the White Fang while Ruby is too childish, she haven't even activated her silver eyes. Weiss, Blake shouldn't even be here, she should be locked up after what she have done. And Ruby, why is she here still? Because of her eyes, maybe they won't even work because of how much of a child she is. Yang, Ruby may be a strong girl, but she is too much in her shell and acts so careless. I am happy she got in here, but it would have been better if she just waited till she was old and mature enough to be here. Cardin, and I speak probably for everyone here that Blake could be the worst influence for Ruby due to her past. Plus, if it wasn't for Blake's fighting experience she wouldn't have been here. Rin, I can't believe I say this, but I agree with Cardin. Blake's past make her untrustworthy. Why Ruby is still her friend is beyond me. Nora, agree. But the fact John and Pyrrha is friends with those two is beyond me. How come they know of Blake's past and how Ruby acts yet they are friends with them like it doesn't matter? Ashbin, well, as you said, Mistreated is because of her eyes. They have powers that could make Grim fear her, but if she doesn't discover how to soon, we will remove her eyes and give some other while you give them. Blake's case, if she continue this pace she goes now during her training, we will hand her over to Ironwood and he can decide what happened to her. So for now we only keeping them until they have shown they aren't useful anymore. The group outside the door heard what they said and they looked towards their friends to see they struggled to keep their tears inside. Before they could comfort the two they both ran off to their dorm room. The group went to the dorm room only to hear crying and few things getting tossed before there was a crash. They banged on the door but never got an answer. Then Penny managed to knock the door down to see a broken window and a note on Blake's bed that said, "Whoever see this note, me and Ruby went rogue because of people we trust, don't look for us. With hate, Blake." This made the group cry. They head to Team JNPR dorm to sit down and talk. Penny, I can't believe what happened to friend Ruby. Coco, same, she was one of the most nicest person in this school and they throw her away like that. John, she was also my first friend I managed to make in this school, she even helped me and Pyrrha get together. Pyrrha, yeah, I remember, she made us go to that amusement park and who you were left with to be your partner to walk around with you had to take the love tunnel. Ruby used her brain at most that time. Funny thing was it was after I told her I like you she made that plan. Velvet, She was also so nice and doesn't judge anybody for what they are. Some people are worse than what they look. For the next 3 weeks Coco, Velvet, John, Pyrrha and Penny went to look Ruby and Blake but didn't have any luck since they have gone off everyone's radar. They even tried to check their home only for to be meet with their parents that have even heard something from them. When the parents learned what happened to them they were crying. The worst thing was that Ruby's uncle also was with their father, and when heard what Young said about Ruby it took Tai Young all of his strength to make sure Crow won't go to Beacon and kill Ojbin. Crow decided to help the group to try and find them but to no avail. But they have heard about 2 dangerous people that there was a run on site. While with the 2 most dangerous people they were killing any faunus in the White Fang. While a member of the White Fang was running away he was suddenly shot in his legs. Random member, wait please, all I just wanted to was. I don't care what you are saying, you hurt innocent people, therefore you must be punished. As he turned around and the last thing he saw was this. Ignore the wolf or fox ears she have. Her cape also looked like it had been damaged a bit, same with the hood on it. Then he was lost his head, while with the leader he was on the floor with a missing hand and a missing arm. His legs was twisted in the wrong was and he suddenly was stomped right between his legs as he looked up to the person that have stomped on him between his legs. Adam, you're a faunus, how could you do it to your own kind? Please, this my kind are those who accept me and don't use me. This so-called White Fang is done, and you were the cause. As Adam then looked up to see the person that is killing, his eyes since he recognized the person in front of him, but he didn't get the chance to say anything and that the last person he saw was this. As Blake picked up her mask that fell off her during the fight. As she put it on she met up with Ruby that was sitting on a pile of dead faunus like it was normal. As she nodded so did Blake. Ruby pull out a match before lighting it as she throw it on to the pile of dead bodies as they begin to burn. Suddenly both turned around to see their group and the betrayers running towards them. Both of them were still disguised. Ruby, so Blake ready for a blast from the past. Blake, I'd been dying to. After all those hunters and huntress we killed, this will be it. One last battle against our friends and the people that betrayed us. It haven't even been 4 minutes and the people that betrayed Ruby and Blake was on the ground. They were bruised and have a lot of cuts on them. They also have broken bones, some scars and permanent injuries. Ruby looked at Yang that was on the ground that was holding her broken arm. She then went over to Yang before she stomped on her arm as Yang began to scream. Yang glared at Ruby not knowing it was her. Ruby then raised her side before she slashed Yang's clean off. Yang tried her best not to scream but she was kicked in the stomach before she passed out. Weiss on the other hand was back up to a wall while Blake stand above Weiss with her gamble shroud before she sliced down at Weiss' other eye, as blood fell from the eye as she was holding it. Blake turned around and faced Ruby before she nodded as both left the group that didn't betray them, but before they could completely leave they were attacked by Penny but they just dodged. As the group attacked the duo they continued to dodge, but suddenly John and Pyrrha managed to hit them as their mask fell off them. The group managed to see their face as they were too shocked to say anything. Ruby quickly grabbed both masks. She placed her mask on before throwing Blake her mask before Blake put her mask on. As both faced the group as Penny spoke up. Penny, friend Ruby, please tell me this isn't you or it is just a phase. Ruby. Penny, please tell me? Ruby, betrayal hurts Penny, it is poison for those that are affected by it, and it turned them into monsters at the end. John, please, you and Blake are the best people we know, you can't let their words hurt you. Blake, me and Ruby are leaving, we aren't going to fight you guys, in the end you are still our friend. Pyrrha, we aren't leaving without you too, so we will fight until we manage to bring you back. Blake, is that it? Well, the Ruby and Blake, bring it on, friends. Right before they could fight, a portal appeared behind them as Ruby and Blake was sucked into the portal as their friends tried to follow them, but the portal closed before they could as they were on their knees crying. While in another universe there was a green-haired boy with a dark green suit on top of a building as green lightning could be seen bouncing hoping off of him. There also looked to be tendrils coming out of him, and his eyes could be seen glowing in the night. This was Izuku Midoriya. As he closed off everyone he cared about now, the last person he had contact with was Melissa Shield that was trying to get him back to UA and his family. But he refused. He have become more brutal while fighting. He have also killed multiple villains and thugs that have come to fight him, or hurt any civilians. Izuku then saw what he had been looking for, one of the member of the League of Villains, which was Dabi. As Izuku was following Dabi without making a sound, when Dabi enter a bar, Izuku sneak up at the door as he hears Shigaraki speaking to Dabi. Izuku charged up his quirk as he punched the door as it hit compress, knocking him out. The League stood up seeing Izuku, but before they could do anything, black whips warped around them as the League was being smashed into wall, floor, selling and each other. Izuku was calm all the way. One of the black whips slowly picked up a knife that fell out of Toga's pockets. As Shigaraki's hands was extended in front of him, he cut Shigaraki's hands off like nothing, which made him scream. He then slammed everyone in each other, making them pass out. Izuku left them in front of a police station. The police were going to arrest Izuku as well, but he have already escaped. He went to Tartarus prison because he was going to end All for One once and for all. As he made it into the prison, guards was there. When they saw him, they were wondering why he was here. Izuku walked past them. They tried to stop him but was only met with a black whip stopping them before releasing them. When he made it to All for One's cell, he destroyed the door. The guards was alerted and tried to stop him, but they were warped in black whip. As they couldn't move, they saw Izuku stop in front of All for One. Izuku, well then, All for One, you have lived long enough, ready to die. All for One, even though you have beat me, my successor will defeat you. Izuku, him, yeah, he is going to prison as we speak. Well then, All for One, hope you rot in hell. As Izuku charged up his quirk before punching All for One, head crushing his skull and brain before he retracted his arm as he punched All for One through the heart, ending All for One. The guards saw what happened and was too shocked to do anything. As they were let go off, Izuku left that prison. When he got onto the street, he saw his school coming towards him. He still remembered the betrayal. Flashback. Izuku have come back from training from Gran Torino. As he was sitting in a car with All Might, they weren't really on talking foot, but they still spoke here and there. When they arrived at UA, they were meet with Izuku's biological mother Inko. As they went to the dorm, they heard the teachers and students talking as they listened closely. Aizawa, Nizu, even though All Might have given problem child one for all, he is still only useful until he have gotten rid of the League and All for One. Why can't we push him to become stronger fast so we can get rid of him? The big three, Class 1A and 1B, agree. He is only a weapon. He is way too weak to own a quirk like One for All. Nizu, remember, he is only a weapon. When he have done his thing, we can blacklist him and expel him from here and every other hero's school. Unknown to them, Izuku heard this and was angry. He looked at All Might and Inko as they just look angry. Not at him, but the people inside of the dorm. Tashinori, I choose you because of your heart, and because you deserve this even more than me. Inko, I may not have supported you when you were young, so Izuku, whatever you do now, I won't stop you. Izuku, stepdad, am I allowed to always use my quirk now? Tashinori, yes you may, Izuku. Izuku, you can call me stepson. Take Eri and you know where to bring her. Tell them what happened and I have become a rogue hero. I will leave a note in my dorm room. Tell Melissa I need 2 full gauntlets. As they both nodded, Izuku secretly went inside and went to his room. He grabbed his suit and left a note. Then he left that night. No one know where he went. Flashback over. As his class and Class 1B and the big three along with the teacher saw him, and what he looked like sent chills down their spine. Katsuki, given his ego, went to attack him, but Izuku used Black Whip and wrapped it around Aizawa's head before slamming it into the ground, knocking him out before he air flicked Katsuki in the face before appear in front of him and kicking him in the stomach. The tanks of Class 1A and 1B went to attack him also, but Izuku charged up his quirk to 9% before any one of them could react, send them flying back into the classes before he sent a barrage of wind punches towards them as they were sent back, while the wind pressure hurt them more as some could barely breathe. Izuku then felt danger sense activate as Black Whip was warped someone behind him as Mirio was caught in it before he was sent to a flying knee gyre. Izuku appeared above them before punching Mirio, sending them flying down to 1A and 1B. Izuku then used float to steady himself before launching towards Tamaki, sending him to the classes as well. The teachers saw how much Brutal decided to fight, and before they could react, Midnight got both her arms broken. Cementos was punched in his stomach before he was punched in his skull, cracking it a bit. Ectoplasm got his legs broken and twisted. Vlad King got the low blow and his knees and elbows dislocated. Hound Dog got his arms dislocated along with a punch to the throat. Present Mike was punched in the stomach before kicked in the throat before getting kneed in the chin. power loader got both his equipment stabbed into his legs while also getting his legs twisted, his arms broken and cracked skull. Everyone of Class 1A and 1B stood up, but before they could do anything a portal appeared behind Izuku as he was sucked into it. Suddenly he fell on the ground as a portal above him appeared, and suddenly it became dark. As he couldn't breathe, he tried move the person that landed on his face. As he managed to grab the person's hip and get them off, he then saw another girl that was on his crotch. He used Black Whip and used it to get her off him. He see the two girls wearing some masks, and they looked like they were either anti-heroes or villains. Izuku, who are you two? Girl 1, first, who are you? Izuku, I will answer if you answer me. Girl 2, listen, either you tell us or we force you. Izuku, well then. Izuku then used Black Whip as both struggled to get out of the whip. Izuku, now then, tell me who you are. Girl 2, fine, my name is Blake Belladonna. Girl 1, I am Ruby Rose, they're happy. Izuku, well then, since you told yours I will say mine. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Why do you two look like you turned evil? Blake, it is because we were used and we decide to go rogue. Izuku, I guess we are in the same boat then. Ruby, so you were also seen as a tool. Izuku, yep, it really hurts, especially when it is people you made memories with. Blake and Ruby, agreed. Now where are we? Izuku, I don't know, from what I can tell we probably were sucked into a portal since we are here. Let's look around. While looking around, the trio gets to know each other and find out about their past and the corrupt people they have killed. After a long walk they finally found a portal, but it was only one, so they took a deep breath before they enter it. On the other side they see a normal-looking city. There were no quirks from what Izuku could tell, and no semblance from what Ruby and Blake could tell, but there was something wrong with this world. Izuku felt his danger sense go off as he grabbed both Blake and Ruby while using his quirk, as they managed to dodge a spear made of red glowing light as they looked to see someone with black wings that just attacked them. Izuku. Blake and Ruby took a fighting stance as they were ready to face off against this new person, as their welcome to this new world will change their life probably forever. New school and wanted by devil? Izuku used his quirk Black Whip to try and capture the person that attacked them. Suddenly more spears come raining down towards them as he was angry since this person has backup. Ruby and Blake was trying to hit them, but since they were flying this was almost impossible. Ruby tried uses her sniper because since those people they were fighting was flying. Blake tried to sneak attack them. The trio was getting more and more annoyed by them. Izuku managed to land a kick on one of them, taking that person down. Blake and Ruby took the chance to see if they could manage to damage them, only to get sent away. Blake, why are these people so annoying? All they do is stay in the sky. Ruby, you don't say. As she tried use her semblance to catch one of guard, but the one she attacked managed to dodge. This made Izuku snap as he had enough of this. Izuku, I have had enough of this. Crows just continue to throw those spear-like thing at use. So now they are going to pay. Izuku let out a strong punch that sent the crow-like people flying since he didn't want to deal with them anymore. As the trio sighed in relief as they sat down and caught their breath, they didn't realize because of Izuku's punch a few other people could feel where they were. Ruby, they were annoying. Blake and Izuku agreed. As they headed out of the place they appear in, only to find out it was an abandoned house. They sigh since this is going to be a long on adjusting to this new world and its rules. Unfortunately for the girl, they don't have this world's money, but Izuku was the only one that have the money that was in this world. Ruby, well, since we don't have any money that belongs in this dimension except for you, Izuku, first let's get a place to stay first, because I believe we don't want to stay at either abandoned place or in LA. Then we can talk about you two and your money problem. They agreed on that. As they were looking for a place to stay while jumping from roof to roof, they didn't notice two people watching them. 1. So they were the ones that sent the fallen angels away, and he was the one that let out so much energy. Must say they are impressive and scary. Impressive for defeating them, but scary because how they look, and they give off this feeling they would have killed them, but they didn't because they probably didn't understand that they were fallen. 2. Indeed, but any ideas of who they are? 1. No, but I do know this. 1. They aren't from here, not from this town, but more like not from this world. 2. They all three are teenager. Last, this town is either going to become more dangerous or easy since they are here. 2. So we are leaving them alone for the time being. 1. Yes, they don't cause us a problem. Also, if we need help, we know who to ask, probably. Well, as long we don't annoy them. But I think because of that boy, they will now be wanted by anyone so they can get his power. 2. Probably, they would make a good addition for anyone actually. 1. Well, since they need a new school, I have a higher chance to get them in my team. Plus, they could be really helpful for both of us. 2. Listen, they will end up joining me. Chuckled a bit. 1. We will see, my friend. As? Left through a blue circle? 2 was watching a bit more before leaving like? 1 did, but that one's color was red. While with the trio they were still going from roof to roof, suddenly Izuku stopped up, as this made the 2 girls stop up too. Ruby, what is wrong? Izuku, I realize this, we are in another world. Not only does none of our world's rules apply here, but did any of you 2 actually bring clothes from your own world with you? Blake, well, me and Ruby mainly wear this. Why? Izuku, this is the only clothes you 2 have, Blake. That means we need to get new clothes to make sure we aren't suspicious. Plus, we can't always stay in these forever. Ruby, Blake, he is right. We do need something other than these clothes, not to mention you are the person that is most sticking out of us 3. Izuku, true, you need to hide your cat ears. Blake, well, I did have a way to hide it, but it is back in Beacon in mine and Ruby's old dorm room. Ruby, just letting you know now, Blake, here people will question why you are wearing your bow and why you are wearing it, so let's try see if you can hide ears without your bow. This made Blake sigh. They went back to the abandoned house quick. When they arrived, Izuku went into a random room and changed into some casual clothes. The 2 girls went in after as he waited outside. Suddenly a hand was reaching for something as Izuku grabbed 2 sets of clothes from his backpack and gave the clothes to the hand. He waited a good 3 minutes as the girls come out with some of his clothes on. Izuku gave a cap to Blake which she puts on her head because she didn't have a bow and couldn't hide her ears. They then head out. When they got outside, they saw it was turning morning. As they walk into town, Ruby was curious, so she looked at Izuku. Ruby, hey Izuku, quick question. Izuku, you can ask if you want to. Ruby, how are your parents? Izuku, they are divorced. Ruby, oh sorry. Izuku, it is okay. A while after me and my sister was born, turns out we were half siblings due to my mother got drunk and had a one-night stand. My parents had an argument, so they divorced and had shared custody of me. My sister is nice. She always helped me when I was bothered, sad or bullied. My father tried to keep our bond strong even after the divorce. I wasn't happy with my mom. She tried her best to be a good mom even after the divorce. She married my stepfather after 2 years. My stepfather tried to make me see him as a second father, but I held a grudge against my mother, so I ended up taking it out on him. So I weren't on good terms with him, but he and my mom tried their best to be my parents, not as main parents but as second parents. My father married a other woman a year after my mom got married to my stepfather. It took some time for me to see the other woman as a mother too, but before I started at UA I had accepted her as my stepmother. My sister is on a 4-month training trip with my stepfather's old teacher, and she would have returned home 3 weeks in my home dimension. Now I can't greet her when she come back. The girls are shocked how Izuku life have been with his family. They feel bad for him. Ruby, listen, I am so sorry. Izuku, don't worry, it is nice talking here and then. Plus before I went rogue I kinda forgave my mother and stopped holding a grudge against my stepfather. Plus me and my sister got equal chores there. Sometimes she got more, but we got the same amount of cash. Which was sometimes 100,000 money that we got put in our own bank account, so we have some saved up. As they reached town, Izuku and the girls went to clothes store, since they would need new clothes. First was the store for male clothes that Izuku could use. The girls waited for his inside the store. They wanted to rate his outfit. As Izuku have chose what he wants to wear, he went in the changing room. As he come out, the 2 girls put a thumbs up for his outfit. Ruby, cool. Blake, got to say, love the style. Izuku, thanks. Ruby, come on, try some more. Blake, well, somebody definitely changed back to their old self. Ruby, I didn't even realize it. Izuku, well, to be honest, it feels nice to let go of the rogue thing and be ourselves for a while. Blake, true, but how about while as civilians we act more like our past selves, and when we are our rogue selves we let go of our past selves until then? Izuku, that is a good idea. Ruby, agreed, but Blake, can you smile more then please? Blake, no. Ruby, if you don't, I will make sure that meeting our past is the first thing you ever want to meet if you don't. Izuku and Blake was hugging each other because they were scared as Blake nodded as Ruby returned to normal after. Izuku and Blake realized they are still hugging as they left go a bit embarrassed as a blush. Ruby, come on, grab some more clothes so me and Blake don't have to use your clothes always. As Izuku have at least 10 sets of clothes, 2 pajamas and 8 casual clothes. Afterwards it was the girls' turn. The girls pull him into a store for girls as he sat down. While sitting down he saw other guys sitting beside him that also included husbands. Husband 1, so girlfriends or Izuku, friends, they didn't manage to get clothes with them from their home, so I pay for them. Guy 5, well at least you are doing it for your friends. My girlfriend made me a promise to her that I will spend time with her today. Izuku, I feel bad for you. Guy 5, well I did spend time with my friends the time she asked to hang out, I just want to make it up to her. Izuku, okay, hey can you people recommend us a school? Guy 2, well there is one I could recommend for the girls. Guy 1, dude if you are talking about that school, it is now co-ed. Husband 3, well my daughter says that school have been filled with some perverted boys. Guy 3, well I can understand that, they really need to be on a leash. Izuku, what school are you talking about? Husband 2, well it is a kinda known school but I believe you aren't around here. Guy 4, well the name of the school is. While with the girl they were choosing the clothes they want. While Ruby wasn't looking, Blake have grabbed a couple of black bows. As they went into each of their own changing room, they begin to try on the outfit. After they have tried it out they come out and see Izuku still chatting with the other guys and suit band that were waiting. Ruby, hey Izuku, we are done. Blake, what do you think? Izuku was having a million things going on inside of his head as only one word could come out of his mouth. Izuku, beautiful. The 2 girls blushed a bit because of what he said, while the guys and husbands that Izuku talked to all salute for him and clapping as well. After that Izuku paid for the girls' clothes, also their pajamas and some underwear and bras, which he made sure to look away from because he don't want to be seen as a pervert. After that they searched for an apartment. After they found the apartment they checked the place out. Izuku, this apartment have 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom and a kitchen connected to the living room. It is small but live-able. What do you girls think of this? Blake, agreed. Ruby, well this is kinda the best we could find for now. Izuku, next we need to let each other know when one is using the bathroom too, just to make sure we don't walk into each other naked. Blake and Ruby, agreed. Izuku, anyways from what I have gathered is Saturday today so I will call a school I was recommended for us. There is a problem but will be only for me. Blake, what is the problem? Izuku, the school was a girls' school in the start but now it is co-ed. Ruby, I don't really get it. Blake, the school was a all-girls school Ruby, which means since it isn't any more boys want to join the school because of the girl, since that Izuku would be seen as a one of them unless he makes sure they believe he is not. Ruby, thanks for explaining. Suddenly all their stomach growl as they just chuckled. Izuku, well lunch is on me. While we are at it let's get some groceries. Blake and Ruby, agreed. Izuku paid for the apartment. After that they went out for a quick lunch before buying groceries. While at it Izuku got in contact with the school's principal. The principal allowed them to join and they need to meet with the student council to get their schedule. Izuku asked if he could come tomorrow if it was okay. The principal answered yes. After he was told that, he explained it to the girls, then they head home. They made some dinner and after eating dinner Izuku said that he is going to take a shower and went to take a shower, which the girls didn't hear, as they have grabbed a towel and some clothes as they head to the bathroom. When they opened the door they stood in silence for a bit, as both begin to have a nosebleed and steam coming out of their ears as well as being more red than Ruby's cape. Inside the bathroom was Izuku, but he was only in a towel. What he didn't know was Blake and Ruby that was behind him. Both the girl quickly closed the door as they went to the couch. Ruby, so we never say this to Izuku, right? Blake, you don't tell me twice. Both were just in silence as they heard the water run. Ruby, hey Blake, so remember the grim blood I got splashed into my mouth the first day we were rogue? Guess there have been a few effect from it. Blake, Ruby, are you a? Ruby, well, not really, but it depends of this one question I need an answer to. Blake, Ruby, what is the question? Ruby, does Faunus have a heat cycle? Blake, maybe. Ruby, why are you asking? Ruby, well, I do feel some effects from it, and I believe I kinda have one. The reason I asked was because I was wondering if you had one as well. When you saw, so I was wondering how to control it. Blake's jaw dropped. After a while, Izuku come out the shower as the girl turned to see him in a towel that was covering his waist and down. The two girls fought their urges to both look at him and drag him into their room. As they look away, as they did a quick rock paper scissors, which Blake won before she headed to the shower. While this happened, Izuku just looked confused. After that, Izuku went to his bedroom as Ruby and Blake went to theirs. The next day, Izuku woke up as he went to the kitchen and made himself some breakfast. He looked at the clock to see it was 5:30 a.m. After he was done eating, he checked on the girls that was still sleeping. Izuku looked at the clock as he went to change clothes before heading out. He also grabbed his backpack and put his suit in as he left the apartment with a note on the door. Izuku was walking outside as find the school. He have to admit it was bigger than he thought it would be. When arrived, he was met with two girls, both having black hair and glasses. One have it in a bob cut and violet eyes, while the other have longer hair that reached down a little lower than her knee, and her eyes are both light brown. She was also a bit taller than the bob cut one. Both were wearing a uniform. Izuku, hello, so you two are the student council? Indeed we are. Why don't you follow me to my office? Izuku nods. While he was following, he was asked questions why he was here and what his intentions were. He explained that he was recommended this school yesterday since he and his two friends need to have their education done. He also explained that he don't have any other intentions. After that, they arrive at the student council office. They then went inside. Take a seat. Izuku, all right. As Izuku sit down, as the shorter girl sit down on a chair in front of him, as the taller girl stood behind the shorter girl. So what was your last school like? Izuku, I won't reveal my past school along with my two friends' past school. It bring back bad memories, mostly because of people we believe were our friends. I see, but I have another question. You and your friends aren't from here, am I right? Izuku flinched a bit, but it wasn't noticeable. He sighed as he looked at the person in front of him. Izuku, well, I am not from this city if you were wondering. I meant from this world. Izuku's eyes widened as he stand up and glared at the girl in front of him as a heavy aura could be felt leaking from him. The two girls felt it hard to breathe for a moment as Izuku stopped leaking the aura. Izuku, listen, I don't know who you are, but I want to make a deal. You see, after seeing you from last night dealing with those fallen angels. Izuku, fallen angel? Yes, those and your two friends dealt with as fallen angels. You see, I waited to meet one of you three. Since me and my friend watched you and your two friends last night jumping from roof to roof looking for a place to stay, I assume. Izuku, I believe the one beside you isn't the one you're talking about. No, but when you join this school you will probably find out about her. Izuku, I see. Quick question, what are you? Well, I am a devil, and so is my vice president here, and we wanted to make you a deal. Izuku, what type of deal? I want you and your friends to join me. In exchange, I will help you and your friends to adapt to this world as well, understanding it more, and what is going on here. Plus, I would also get you three a better home if you like. Izuku, there is a catch and someone else that is after us too, am I right? There is a reason you wanted to speak with us. There is my friend that will try recruit you three as well. But if anyone from the underworld finds out about you three, they will also want you, and the stunt you pulled has made you the main target. So they will probably go after your friends and use them to force you to join. I will tell you the catch tomorrow if you like. Izuku, figured this is going to be more trouble, but just letting you know, me and my friends have gone rogue in our past world, so mess with us and there is going to be spilled some blood. I see, I promise we won't turn on you, so do we have a deal? Izuku, I will discuss this with other two and tomorrow at school we will see if you are actually trustworthy tomorrow. But who are you and what is your name? My name is. While with Blake and Ruby, they have read the note, and were trying to make Blake hide her ears without her bow. While teaching Blake, Izuku come inside as he watched what was happening in front of him. After a few minutes he saw as Blake tried her hardest learning to keeping her ears down until she finally managed to keep them down. Then he decided to let himself known now. Izuku, hey, I am back. Ruby, how did it went, and when did you get back? Izuku, not so long ago, and tomorrow we have to drop by somewhere in the new school. Blake, what is the reason? It can't be that bad. Izuku, I would agree, but this is not about the school but this world. Blake, what do you? Izuku, what we fought that night was fallen angels. Because of that we are wanted by devils since in this world the supernatural exists. This made the two girl eyes wide in shock. Ruby, this is a joke, right? Izuku, no, I wish but I am not. Ruby, but what does? Izuku, listen, there is a devil in the school we are going to go to. She will explain everything about this world, plus she will help us, but I told her only if you two agree. Blake, I see. I would like to hear her out myself before I give my answer. Ruby, I am with Blake on this one. First I want to hear her myself. Izuku, well, how about we go on a patrol tonight? One thing I learned, there is something called a stray devil. Let's see how strong it is to test this world and how strong it is. As they both nod, they head out this night being rogues in a new world and find out more about it. Soon they will find this quite eventful for them and awkward too, because the challenge is only going to be harder from here. First day, hard decision and hard to gain trust. Next day Izuku wake up feeling too weight on him. He look under the blanket as he remember what happened, after they have found of those strays and held it captured, when someone with red hair grill appear along with a few others. The trio had watched as the red-haired girl killed the stray as she was going to ask them something, but they left before she could ask. Afterwards turns out Ruby and Blake didn't have too much energy, so they were tired. Izuku carried both of them and took them home. As he got home he placed both in Ruby's bed. Before he could leave, both Blake and Ruby pulled him towards them. He tried to leave for an hour but gave up. He then fell asleep a bit after. Izuku sighed as he tried getting out of their grip again, but like last night he couldn't. He decided if he getting out of it he needed to wake them up. He gave them a little nudge as both girls wasn't budging. He tried again, this time a bit harder as Ruby got up. She let a cute yawn before looking around. Ruby, who is nudging me? Izuku, I am, and it is because you and Blake kept me from moving after you fell asleep last night. I had to carry you two actually. After I put both of you in your bed you two pulled me down to you, so help me get out of her grip. As Ruby was embarrassed as she tried to help Izuku getting out of Blake's grip, she then looked for anything in her drawer until she finally found what she needed. Izuku saw it, and held his ears as Ruby used her whistle as it shocked Blake so much she fell out of the bed. Blake, Ruby, what the buck, how do you still have that? Ruby, well, first you were being clingy to Izuku after he was to spend the night in our room because we fell asleep and didn't let go of him. Izuku, second we have school at 8 a.m. As he checked the clock. Izuku, it is 6:59, get up, take a shower, get some breakfast, brush your teeth and hurry because we don't want to be late, plus your uniforms for this school is on the couch. As the girls take a shower, Izuku eats some cereal for breakfast. When he was done eating breakfast the girl have come out, he use his quirk and go into his room as he grabs a towel and head into the bathroom. The girls have put on their uniform and was waiting for Izuku. Blake was hiding her cat ears while Ruby was about to put on her cape, but Blake stopped her and shook her head no. Ruby sighed since she can't wear her cape, but she accepted. Instead she put her scarf on as Blake allowed it as a substitute. Izuku meanwhile was done showering and brushing his teeth. Izuku, your two's turn to brush your teeth. I will wait at outside since I have the keys. The two girls hurry and brush their teeth before going out to see Izuku waiting. He then locked the door when both have gone out of the apartment. After that they went downstairs. When they left the apartment they made sure no one could see them as Izuku used his quirk while Blake and Ruby used their semblance to arrive at the school a bit earlier than if they walked. Izuku told them to follow him since it was somehow only 7:42. Izuku lead them to the school council office. He knock on the door as open. They all three enter as was sitting at her desk waiting. When she saw the trio enter she smiled. There was 3 seats for the trio. They sat down and looked at. Hello you three, so have you thought about the deal? Blake, well, me and Ruby want to hear it ourselves. Nodded as she began to explain about the deal. Blake and Ruby was thinking for a second since they need to understand this world more but they don't want to be too much involved with it. Izuku looked at the girl in front of him, then to Blake and Ruby. He then had an idea. Izuku, alright, I want to add a bit to this deal. What you want to add? Izuku, a bit of trial. Due to something in our past we have trust issues, so we will help your team but you will also have to help us when we need help. It is a way for us to see if you people are trustworthy, alright? Alright, then we will try gain you three's trust. Anyways, Miss Belladonna, I feel sorry for you. While Ruby and Izuku here is going to be in the first year class, you will be in the second year. Blake, doesn't sound that bad. Well, how do I explain? There is only one class I could put you and it have the three biggest perverts of this school in it. Blake, nice joke. Send her a serious look. Blake looked at her hoping she was joking. Shook her head as Blake found the floor interesting while being a bit depressed. Izuku and Ruby sweat dropped because of this. Blake had the worst luck while they at least have some better luck. Anyways, since that is over you can leave the office. Izuku, alright. He then spotted a chessboard. He knew how to play chess and he liked a challenge. Izuku, hey, do you play chess? Indeed I do. Why? Izuku, how about a quick match? Nodded. As they played their match, Blake and Ruby was watching with curiosity of who will win. After 9 minutes Izuku checkmated, leaving everyone in shock, mostly because nobody have been able to beat. Yet, Izuku just have a friendly smile as he sigh. Izuku, that was a fun match, let's do it again sometime. Stuttering, yeah, maybe in the future. Ruby, alright, since that is over we will take our leave, but before we go, me and Blake never got your name and please tell us your real name. If anyone have seen the tags, one says RWBYXDXD and one that says MHXDXD, this was the reason why I am kinda embarrassed with what verse I chose. Anyways, there will now be switch POV between Izuku, Blake and Ruby. I see, if we have to build trust even I have to share something. My name is Sona Citri, the heiress to the Citri household. Izuku, Blake and Ruby, well then, we hope you don't break our trust. Sona, not planning to, you have my word on that. With that they trio left as Izuku and Ruby head to another class while Blake walks to her class. Blake's POV. As I arrive to my class I remember what Sona told her. I knock on the door as the teacher open it. Teacher, oh you must be Blake, am I right? Blake, yes I am. Teacher, come in then. As I went in and saw the class was filled with mostly girls except a few boys that eyed me. I really wish that I was at Izuku and Ruby's age so I didn't have to deal with them. Teacher, introduce yourself. Blake, hi, my name is Blake Belladonna, that is it, nothing more nothing less. Teacher, alright, you behind Issei, please put your hand up. I see a brown-haired boy put his hand up as I mentally groaned in my head. I could see he was staring at my chest for a while. I walked behind him and sit at the window. While listening to the teacher I could tell some boys was looking at me. I just hope Ruby and Izuku have gotten a better class than me. Izuku's POV. Me and Ruby found our classroom. We both were nervous because we don't know what to expect. I knock on the door as the teacher opened it. The teacher looked friendly enough. Teacher, I guess both are the two new students. Izuku, yes. Ruby, yep. Teacher, come on, head in. As both me and Ruby entered the classroom I was greeted with everyone here being girls. I was embarrassed because I will be the only boy in the class. Ruby put a hand on my shoulder and gave me a look that said everything will be fine. Teacher, anyways, everyone meet your new classmates. Izuku, hi, my name is Izuku Midoriya. Ruby, hi, my name is Ruby Rose. Teacher, anyways you both can sit in the back. Izuku and Ruby, alright. As we sit in the back I feel like all eyes was looking towards me as I try my best to listen to what the teacher was teaching, but I felt really uncomfortable. When we are allowed to go to lunch I kinda left the room in a hurry, not caring because I can't stay in there longer than needed because it was so awkward being the only boy there. Ruby find me as she put a hand on my back to calm me down. It did help me a bit. We walked around to find Blake. We wonder what happened in Blake's class. When we finally found her I could tell she didn't enjoy her class. Suddenly 3 boys come out and begin to try flirt with Blake, and she got more annoyed by the moment they tried. So I decide to step in. Izuku, hey, leave her alone. Why should we? What are you going to do if we don't? Izuku, I will give you a reason to go to the hospital. Everyone around me heard this and last guy backed away. The two others went towards me with confidence. Come on, give us a reason to visit the hospital. I just looked at them, and what happened next? I was sent to the student council with Blake and Ruby following behind me as the two perverts was in an ambulance, as doctors was trying to make sure that the two boys didn't die from blood loss. Blake's POV. I was getting harassed by the three perverts that whispered comments to me the entire class period. Izuku shouts to them to leave me alone because he probably saw me annoyed. One of them backed off as the two others wasn't scared of Izuku. Can't blame them because without his suit he looked like a cinnamon roll, so they probably thought he was joking. Well, the next thing that happened was Izuku grabbed both their head and smashed them into each other. He then smashed them into the wall. He then grabbed of their legs and began beat the one he didn't grab with the person he grabbed as the person was smashed to the ground and onto the person. When the teacher came and pulled Izuku away, I explained the reason and she sent us to the student council. She didn't look that mad. I could see in her eyes that she thinks they both deserve it. The guy that backed away, he said sorry and left. I sighed because this was just the first day, and we kind of already in trouble. As we got to the student council office, Ruby happily knocked on the door. No one's POV. As the trio Hida enter, they come in to see a annoyed Sona. Sona wonder why these three was sent to the office so fast because there was no way in hell that they done something stupid already. Sona, explain. Ruby, well, me and Izuku went to find Blake. When we find her, three guys was kind of harassing her with flirty comments. Blake got annoyed and Izuku decided to step in. He said he will send them to the hospital if they don't leave Blake alone. They went to him and tried call off what they think was a joke. Izuku then beat both of them up to show he wasn't joking. The teacher sent us here as somebody called the hospital. Then the rest is history from there as we were here. Sona could only face palm. But she is happy that Izuku is willingly standing up for his friends, but if he does this again she will have to punish him. She sighs as she looks at the trio. Sona, you two girl can leave. Izuku, you stay so I can hear what your punishment is. Ruby and Blake, but... Izuku, don't worry, I did beat them up pretty badly so I will accept the punishment without complaining. Ruby and Blake, but you were just helping Blake slash me, why are you just accepting the punishment? Izuku, even though I helped, that doesn't mean that the beating can't kill them. The two girls look down as they want to defend him, but they can't because he doesn't want them to defend him. As they wait outside the door, Izuku was alone in the room with Sona and her vice president. Sona, I will be honest, you had every right to help her, but I can't. Unfortunately, you need some punishment, so you will have to help us with paperwork after school for a month. Izuku, sounds good. It is time we talk since it is lunchtime. Sona, what do we need to talk about? Izuku, I need to know what you also need from us. I also want to know more about this world. Sona, well, to start things off, the supernatural exists. That also include magic. Izuku, well, that is a start. Sona, second, there is things called sacred gears. Izuku got curious and pulls out a notebook from out of nowhere, which made Sona and her vice president wonder how he pulled a notebook out of the blue. They look at him with a what the heck look as they how he did that. Sona, how did you? Izuku, don't question it. Sona, well, anyways, sacred gears are things that is dormant in a human. They are sorta like weapons, but they can have different looks. FX a gauntlet, a mirror, or a ring. In a simple explanation, it could be anything. Izuku, alright, but can you teach me magic? Sona, well, there can be different kind of them. Which one would you like to learn the most? Izuku, I will think about it. Are there different races other than angels, fallen angels and devil? I can tell there is more because it can't only be those supernatural beings. Sona, indeed, but that will be for another time because lunchtime is almost over, so head back to class. Izuku, alright, well, thanks for the information. Sona, before you go, why was your guard up throughout the whole conversation? Izuku, I have been hurt mentally in some kind of way my entire life, so I have a bit of trust issues. So does Ruby and Blake, but not because of their entire life. Ruby was only mentally hurt from this. Before I leave to go to class, remember. If you are really close to someone, the worse it will hurt when they backstab you, when they betray your trust, It have been a nice talk, but I will take my leave. Sona, alright, well, hope to speak to you later. Izuku, yeah, same here. While outside, Blake and Ruby was nervous for Izuku as he have spent the whole lunchtime in the student council office. When they see him come out alright, they wonder what happened in there. Izuku, alright, my punishment was light. All I have to do was help them with paperwork after school for a month. That I am also got more information about this world, but let's speak in the second lunch break. Blake, yeah, I have to return to my class. Ruby, and I need to be emotional support for Izuku since he is the only boy in his class. Blake, still better luck than me, but Izuku did knock those two pervert out, and I believe that the third got the message. Ruby, well, see you during next lunch break, Blake. Ruby grabs Izuku's hand and begin to DRG him to class as Blake giggle a bit because Izuku looked like he wanted to be any place except his class. Blake's POV. I arrive at my class, everything was normal. The third pervert said sorry about the comments and said he would do that to me. I could tell it was out of fear from what Izuku did. Just thinking back to it, I could tell he hates people like those two perverts. That, and he still have his heroic side. The teacher come in and begin teach us. I wasn't really paying attention, mostly because I was thinking about how much Izuku helped. He takes more time so we can be comfortable as well, making sure we can relax. Maybe I should help him a bit just so the stress wouldn't damage his health. Suddenly I heard a cough as I saw the teacher looking at me. Teacher, so what were you thinking about Miss Belladonna? Because I don't think it was what I was teaching. Blake, well, I was just thinking. Teacher, about what? I blushed a bit because I was so focused on Izuku that I didn't hear what the teacher was saying. The teacher noticed the blush on my face and I could tell that she wanted to say what I was thinking about. I really hope she will forget about it. Teacher, so Miss Belladonna, I am waiting to hear. Blake, well, I was thinking about what happened, that incident that happened earlier today. Teacher, alright, just pay attention. I sigh in relief. It was a lie but also a believable. I am just glad that she didn't ask any further. I decide to listen to what happened, but I wonder how Izuku and Ruby is doing. Must be weird for Izuku because being in class with only girls does not help his case. Luckily he has Ruby, that lucky girl. Wait, why am that jealous of my friend? Ruby's POV. So I have dragged a lifeless-looking Izuku with me to class. To say people was wonder why is not a surprise, mostly because some understand he is kind of shy around girls, so being in a class full of them will probably freeze him in spot because of how nervous he is. It is kind of cute. He can handle the fact that me and Blake pull him into a bed while we are asleep, but he can't handle a class full of girls. We arrive at the class as people wonder why I was dragging him. I told them why. They now understand why he hurried out last class period. He suddenly got life in his eyes and just stood up and hurried to his seat and decided to focus on the board. I giggle a bit because this will probably happen for some time. No one's POV. After school, the rogue trio hurried home and decided to scout the city for any activities. When there have gone 3 hours, they found some human trafficking happening. Ruby decided to use her sniper and kill some of them from a great distance. Blake and Izuku headed straight towards them to engage in a fight. The people that was trafficking people tried to shoot at the two, but Izuku activate his and appear behind one of them and punch his head clean off. Blake used her semblance to dodge the bullets. She then began to slice them to pieces. 4 of them tried to run only to feel a bullet hit their head before they died. Ruby shoot the last down as Blake freed the people as they run away. Izuku and Blake joined Ruby on top of the roof. Ruby, that went well. Blake, yeah, does danger sense pick something up? Izuku, yes, a stray devil not long from here, probably 3 blocks from here. Izuku run in the front as Blake and Ruby follow behind them. When they arrive, they see Sona, her vice president, and some other girls that works under Sona probably fighting the stray. Ruby take a shoot and hit the stray in the eye. This made everyone focus on the trio. Before anyone could react, Blake had cut off the stray's arms. Izuku then used his quirk to kick it in the back as it break. Izuku last used Black Whip to hold it down to make sure it won't escape. Izuku, well Sona, this thing is all yours. Sona, very well then, anything you have to say, Stray. Stray devil, rot in hell. Sona, I come from hell. As Sona activate a circle under the stray as it got covered in water before it froze and then shattered. Sona, thanks for the help. Izuku, no problem, now bye. Is that all you have to say? Sona, calm down, remember they don't trust us because they were betrayed by people they were close to. This is how they will act until then. But why the scary outfit? Ruby, it is mostly to show we have turned from being nice and all to more of monster. We wanted to save people to kinda the opposite, and we don't regret it. Blake, when you have been used to many time you will probably understand why we act like this. But Izuku only said the tip of the iceberg. We will not reveal the only for now. We will go around and continue to patrol for now if it is alright with you. Sona, you can leave. Well, see you tomorrow. Oh, and Izuku, tomorrow you actually stay behind because you kinda forgot to help today. Izuku, sorry, but I will stay behind tomorrow. Anyways, we should probably head home and eat dinner because we have school tomorrow. Goodbye. With that, the rogue trio head home so they can relax because tomorrow they still have school. But they know something interesting will happen to them, but what they don't know because a giant dragon looked at them from a weird place. Well, looks like this just got more interesting. Let's see what they will be able to do in this world. All I can do is wish them luck because they will need it more than they think. Meeting other devils, chess bet and a nun. Izuku's POV. It have been a week and 3 days since me, Ruby and Blake was sent to this world. We would normally just hunt stray devils during the noon till midnight. Me and Ruby was right now just finish a assignment. Well, more like me helping her since she got distracted staring at me for some reason. When it was time for lunch we both left to find Blake. I had this feeling someone was always stalking us, but I just don't know why. Izuku, hey Ruby, do you also have a feeling someone is stalking us? Ruby, now that you have mentioned it, yes, I do have the feeling someone have been watching us. We both headed outside and sat under a tree waiting for Blake. While we were waiting, we both looked behind us towards an old building as someone was looking down towards us. The person have crimson red hair and blue eyes, she have white skin. The person was also a girl. We suddenly hear something coming from the kendo club, so we head over there to see what was happening. When we got closer we watched two boys from what we have heard is called the perverted trio leaving, so I quickly catch both of them and drag them with me towards the club as Ruby follow me. When we arrive at the club we see the boy Issei Hayadu about to be beaten up by the club members, but when they see me drag the two others perverts they went over and grabbed them and pulled them towards Issei. Issei looked at us. Issei, please help me. Izuku, why should we? Issei, I didn't even get to spy on them. Those two didn't even let me. I sigh, well Ruby, this is nothing new. At this point Issei need to get some new friends. I grab Issei before throwing him away as he was sack of feathers. I glare at the two pervert as they somehow are equal or more worse than Mineta. Me and Ruby leave afterwards and head back to our spot as Blake was sitting and waiting for us as she was eating sushi while reading her Ninja of Love book. Ruby sighed at this because she told me that both her and Blake only had taken their weapons and clothes with them, so how did she bring her book with her? Ruby, she is just like you and your notebooks. Izuku, what do you mean? Ruby, you both somehow pull books out of thin air. Izuku, I don't know what you're talking about. I pull out my notebook as Ruby facepalm. We sit down and eat while Blake was reading her book while I was writing in my notebook. When we were done eating we begin to talk about how things are going in our classes. We speak for a while until we have to return to class. Blake, well, I will see you both after school then. Izuku, I still have my punishment to finish. Blake, then I will wait. Ruby, me too, we aren't going without you. I smiled as they both said that before we headed to class. Time skip to school was over. I was in the student council office helping Sona and her peerage with the paperwork there. It was easy to do. When we were done Sona asked if I wanted another chess match against her, and I accepted. Izuku, how about we make things a bit more interesting? Sona, what do you have in mind? Izuku, if you win I will take care of all the paperwork. If I win you have to take me, Ruby and Blake to that so-called familiar forest. Sona, deal. So we begin to play as everyone watched with interest. While playing Ruby and Blake walked in and watched us play. After a few minutes I checkmate Sona. Everyone in the room except me, Ruby, Blake and Sona was surprised. Izuku, well, nice game. Sona, I guess it was. When the next full moon happen I will take you three there. Izuku, alright, we will leave now. Me, Ruby and Blake left the office. We head back home so we can go back on patrol. Ruby's POV. Me, Blake, and Izuku split up as we decide to go solo this night. This was going to be eventful. While watching over the city, I felt a pair of eyes watching. I look behind me before I dodge a lightning attack. I see a girl wearing the school uniform. She have violet eyes, long black hair and a ponytail and a yellow ribbon. Well, so you were the one killing humans around here. Ruby, no, but I am one of them. Now what do you want from me? Well, I will have to ask you to stop and leave or you're going to get punished. Ruby, well, here is the thing. Before the girl could react, I appear behind her with my silver eyes glowing and my side at the girl's stomach. Blood could be seen spreading from where the SCYTH blad have cut. Ruby, I don't fear you. The closest thing I will come to fear you if I knew you and what you will do to me. I removed the SCYTH before sending a quick glare at her. The fear in her eyes was all I need to know before I leave. I didn't lie when I said I will only fear if I knew who she was and what she will do to me. It will bring back memories when me and Blake still was in Beacon and they were planning to remove my eyes due to me not becoming their weapon fast enough. I called Blake and Izuku to tell them what have happened. It took some time, but both finally picked their phone up. Ruby, hey, there's something I want to talk about. Izuku, probably about the second owner that is patrolling the city. Blake, you also encountered a devil? Izuku, yes, they probably think we are either some kind of stray devils or something else since this is also the second owner's territory. Blake, could you contact Sona and explain what have happened? Izuku, sure I will. Oh, and I also encountered one of the fallen angels. Ruby, what did the fallen angel want? Izuku, they see us as a threat, and they want to get rid of us. Ruby, that can't be good. Izuku, luckily the crow retreated or else it will probably be feathers by now. Blake, am I the only one that wonder what a crow tastes like? Ruby, now even I am curious. Izuku, let's head to the school. I managed to get in contact with Sona and she is going to bring that other devil owner there. I hanged up before heading to Ko Academy. When I arrive at the academy, I entered the school before heading to the student council office. When I arrived there, I was met with Izuku and Blake looking ready to kill, and on a sofa sat the same crimson-haired girl from before with one of my and Izuku's classmate on her right. On her left was a blonde-haired boy standing. I have heard he was known as the Prince of Ko. While sitting on the sofa on her left was the girl I threatened earlier. When she saw me, she prepared a magic circle while I pull out my SCYTH. Sona, stand down you two. She almost killed me. Sona, why did you call us here? Sona, Rias, remember the people that randomly appeared one night in that abandoned house? These were the people. Rias, why did they try to kill Akino? Ruby, she attacked me for no reason. Give me a reason not to. Akino, and you almost killed. Ruby, you wouldn't be the first devil I have killed, and you will probably not be the last. Izuku, stand down now. I sigh at this before standing beside Izuku and Blake. Sona's POV. This couldn't have gone any worse. Rias Peerage have attacked them for no reason from what I can tell, and they would have been killed if weren't for the fact they just want to leave them a message. Suddenly a hand was on my shoulder and I look at my queen Tsubaki as the message in her tell me I have to do something before chaos happen in here. Sona, Rias, listen, I am not against your peerage and what you are doing. I have allowed them to do what they were doing. Rias, why? Sona, it is kinda simple, but they have to allow me to say why. Izuku, go ahead, tell them about us, but leave who we are under these masks out. Sona, they aren't from this world and their powers as well, so whatever we do, it is better we leave them alone. Rias, how can we be sure they won't betray and attack us? She is right, how can we be sure that don't betray us? Blake, you talking to three people that have been betrayed by people they considered friends. We would be hypocrites if we betray you people. Sona, well, she have a point, Rias. I looked towards Rias as she was thinking. She sighed before looking at me. Rias, alright, as long you don't kill anyone from our peerage you can stay. Izuku, Ruby and Blake, alright, you have our word, we won't, but we will head home now. As they leave I sigh since I hope it didn't went this way, but I was unlucky. I look at Rias as she look at me. Rias, so are they going to be in your peerage? Sona, Yes, if they trust me enough they will join. Rias, I see, did any of them manage to beat you in chess? I look away as I could tell both Rias and Aquino gained a smirk. Rias, so who beat you, my friend? Sona, it was the boy in the trio. Rias, you know what that means. Sona, shut up. Rias got the message and dropped it. They left my office as I sit back in my chair before letting out a giant groan. Sona mind, I wish this day could go better. Time skip 4 days later. No one's POV. Blake was taking notes in her class. She is glad that Izuku have helped her and Ruby with a bit more advanced Japanese. When they started it was only the basics, so it would be easier for them to learn here. While taking notes, she looked towards Issei, the perverted beast of her class. She remembered the Sunday and what happened in the park. She fought the fallen angel as it have killed Issei. She got some information from her. She let the fallen angel go for now because she still haven't told Izuku and Ruby about a soon-to-be victim of the fallen angels. Blake mind, even though he is a pervert, that woman must have traumatized him. Maybe I should get Izuku to take a look at this. When class was over she have crumbled up a paper and threw at Issei's head before heading to her, Izuku and Ruby's spot. When she arrived she sees Izuku and Ruby already have taken out their bento box. She sit down with them as they both notice Blake have gotten a serious look as she sat down and pulled out her bento box. Izuku, something on your mind, Blake? Ruby, yeah, you look more serious than you actually look. Ruby suddenly felt a chill run down her spine after she told that to Blake. Blake, well, the reason I look more serious is that the fallen angels are planning something. Izuku, this can't be good. Ruby, knowing them they probably going to kill someone. Blake, they did kill Issei but Rias have turned him into a devil. Ruby, why can't they just get rid of those crows? Blake, I think it is due to the devils don't want another war with the fallen angels. Izuku, that explains why we can't either. Since this is devil territory the fallen angels will think we are a part of a peerage. Ruby, which would result with us starting the war with the fallen angels, but they will blame the devils. Blake, correct, their next target is a nun. We should search for her in the morning before school and find a way to protect her. Izuku, easier said than done, we don't know when they will arrive. They continued to eat until Issei arrived. Issei, alright Blake, why did you throw that paper at me? Izuku, Blake, now I am curious, why did you throw a paper at him? Blake, I was wondering how you felt after what happened in the park Sunday. Issei got a shocked look about how she knew. Issei, how did you? Blake, I kinda arrived there after she have killed you, so I kinda decide to get information out of her. But I am wondering how you feel? Izuku, you don't have to answer us, but if you need someone to talk to just come and find us. We sit right here. Issei, thanks, you don't mind being here. Ruby, nope. But if you decide to stare at me in Blake's chest it is off with your katana. Issei, what katana? Blake, Ruby, did you read my book again because I couldn't find it? Ruby, it is filth, Blake, filth. Izuku, Issei, to answer what Ruby said she mean that she will make sure you don't get any kids. Issei, and noted. Issei sat down and eat with them. He realizes they aren't really that bad but he can tell there is something bothering them. Issei, hey, are you three alright? Izuku, well, to be honest, no. Blake, when people find a truth it hurts. Ruby, and it will hurt even more from your own family. Issei, geez, sound like you have some history. Izuku, you can say that, Issei. They all chat with each other. When the time for lunch were over they headed back to their classes. After school Blake and Ruby wait for Izuku to finish up before they head back home. When he was done they fast run back home before switching to their rogue clothes. They head out and begin to look for strays and keep an eye out for both the fallen angels and the nun. Blake's POV. I was watching over the street under me as I try keep eye on things. The things happen around here is really interesting in this world. It have only been a few weeks but it have been getting really weird ever since our first day. The fallen angels are planning something and I need to know why. I decided to sneak my way to the church where they are supposed to be. When I arrive at the church I decide to listen to the conversation even though it was a bit muffled. So the nun will arrive tomorrow. Yes, then if she is useful we will let her live. If not, we extract her sacred gear. Good, Fred, you will be responsible to see if she is worth keeping alive. Fred, oh, I can't wait for when she arrive, and I will teach her how to kill devils as well, all those other buckers that support them. Good, for now stay low, those people could probably be coming knocking any minute now ever since that black-haired hitch with that creepy mask caught me. As they leave through a circle, I headed to Izuku and Ruby. They sent me a text earlier that they needed to meet up. I could tell this was important. When I arrive, all I could do was groan. Normally me and Ruby would be serious in this case, but she was kinda clinging to Izuku, but then again I have been also no better self, but since this is important she shouldn't act like that. Blake, Ruby, can you stop clinging to Izuku? Ruby, fine, but anything happened to you on patrol? Izuku, except for a few stray devil, nothing out of the normal. Ruby, nothing really happened except for an encounter with the devil named Kiba. What about you, Blake? Blake, the fallen ones are going to extract the nun's sacred gear if she isn't useful to them. Izuku, they are making this more of a problem than it started. Blake, yeah, at this point I am tempted to kill them. Ruby, same, but for now let's focus on the patrol. We all three heard a yell and start to run towards it. We spot Issei with some kind of gauntlet with a naked fallen angel flying away. Issei was happy he have unlocked his sacred gear. He noticed us looking at him. He was prepared for a fight, but they just continued to look at him. Issei, hey, are you three going to fight me or not? Izuku, no, we were wondering what happening here. Issei, so? Blake, are you alright? Issei, I am, can you leave now? Izuku, we will, but if you ever see a nun with a sacred gear, inform us. Before he could ask any question, we left him there as he head back home. We headed back to our apartment, but while getting back to our apartment, Izuku tackled both me and Ruby down onto the ground as we avoided an attack from a light spear which Izuku have grabbed with his black whip quirk. He looked behind us as we followed his look to see a fallen angel that wore a trench coat and fedora glaring at us before he was forced to avoid and flee from Izuku attacking him. Izuku, are you both okay? Ruby, yeah, thanks to you. Blake, yeah. If you didn't tackle us to the ground, we would have died or taken a lot of damage. We then hugged him as he flinched a bit. We managed to get back home without more trouble. When we were close to the sofa, Ruby threw herself immediately on it, taking most of it up. I sighed because of it. Izuku, well, I am heading to bed. Blake, good night, Izuku. Ruby, good night, Izuku. He headed into his room and closed the door, while me and Ruby was left alone in the living room before we also headed to our own room to sleep. No one's POV. Izuku was floating in the air. He thought that he was back in the One for All, but he realized that when he was in One for All he was on solid ground. But he was floating in the air. He looked around him and see a desolated land, buildings destroyed, a loud roar that also gave of an echo. He looked up into the sky as there crimson stars shining brightly in the sky, and floating around was a crimson line. Izuku suddenly see the line come closer and closer. He tried to move but couldn't. He was stuck in the middle of the air. The line came closer and closer until he could see a gold lines making the crimson line look completely different. He saw the gold lines formed the crimson line and made it look like a dragon, and before he knew it the head of the dragon dived down to him before he woke up feeling someone hugging him. When he looked under the blanket, he saw Blake holding him tightly. He nudged her to make her wake up. It took a couple of nudges before she starts opening her eyes. Izuku, morning, sleepy cat. Blake, how did I? She suddenly realized she was hugging him and quickly let go, which made her fall off the bed. Izuku, are you okay, Blake? Blake, yeah, I am fine. She noticed that he wasn't sleeping with a shirt on. She tried her harder to not stutter due to the sight. Blake, why are you not wearing a shirt? Izuku, after the patrol yesterday I was too tired, so I just changed into pants and went to bed. Why are you here? Blake, Blake began to have a flashback she had during the night. Ruby was snoring as well, have hit her while sleeping, and Blake didn't want to sleep on the couch, so she went to Izuku's room and went to sleep. Blake, Ruby made it harder to sleep. Izuku sighed. It was either her or Ruby that would sneak their way into his room, so for him it was at this point normal. He headed to his closet and began looking for his school uniform and pants. While with Blake she saw his back and saw a scar on it. The scar let out a quick glow before it died down. before she fully see it, Izuku have thrown on the uniform. Izuku, hey Blake, want to walk to school just the two of us since Ruby is asleep and I am always earlier than her up. Blake, sure, I will leave a note. Blake went into her and Ruby's room before coming out with the school uniform on, and her cat ears hidden. Izuku, that was fast. Blake, don't want to hear her snore. They left the apartment. While walking, Blake noticed that Izuku didn't immediately go to school. Instant he began looking around the town. Blake, what are you doing? Izuku, early patrol as a civilian. Blake, why? Izuku, well, because I can't stop myself from seeing if people need help. As Blake was about to ask more, Izuku suddenly walked into Issei. Issei, Izuku, Blake, how are you two? Izuku, we are fine, we were walking to school. Issei, I see, can I? Suddenly they heard someone scream a bit lowly. They turned towards the scream and found a blonde girl with green eyes that just have fallen. Oh no, it looks like I fell down again, I am such a klutz. Issei gained a perverted look, but Blake and Izuku both was shocked. They see she have a bag. Blake begin to grab all the things that have spilled out and put them in the bag the nun had with her. While Issei helped the nun get up, a wind blew as her veil blew off. Izuku caught it before handing it back to her. That was sweet of you three. Izuku, no problem, my name is Izuku. Blake, I always like to help. Issei, please, it was nothing. I am sorry, but I am a little bit lost. Do you three think you can help me out? She then clapped her hands together before giggle a bit. Izuku, me and Blake have been here for close to 2 weeks, so we know most thing around here. Issei, and I grew up here. I think I can remember where it was. They then begin to walk to the church. While on the way they kept quiet while the nun says she have been assigned. After a while of walking they all four come across a child crying. The child have scraped his knees. The nun run over to the kid before comforting him. She then hover her hands over the kid's knees as a pair of silver rings appear on her middle things. The rings glowed before healing the kid's knee as the kid stopped crying. Izuku and Blake looked at each other before whispering. Blake, so we found the nun. Izuku, we should tell Ruby when we get to school. We at least have seen the nun and how she looked like. Issei, what are you two whispering about? Izuku, sorry, it is a secret for only us. Issei nodded before all four of them headed to the church. They walked a bit more. While walking, Issei commented about her sacred gear, which she said she considered a gift and a blessing before her tone got sad. When they reached eye view of the church, the girl thanked them. She invites them up, but Izuku and Blake said that they have school, but if they got time they will visit. While Issei excused himself, the nun introduced herself as Asia Argento. As Asia left Izuku and Blake just before Issei could ask them anything. Blake, so what's the plan? Izuku, simple. If my hunch is correct, then one of these nights, one of us should follow Issei because he will encounter Asia again. Blake, got it. With that said, they walked quietly to school, not saying anything to each other after the encounter, but they knew that it was only going to be more difficult now they have found her. Helping the devils, Crimson Stars, and protecting Asia. No one's POV. When Blake and Izuku got to the school, they were met with a pouting Ruby. Blake, hey Ruby. Ruby, you two left me alone there. Why didn't you two wake me up so we could have walked together? Izuku, sorry Ruby. Blake only woke up early because you kinda annoyed her during the night. Ruby, did I snore again? Blake, yes. Ruby, guess that one was on me, but how come I got here faster? Blake, turns out Izuku sometimes take early morning patrols. Ruby, oh. Blake, yes, and we encounter the nun that we talked about last night. Ruby's jaw hit the ground as the two of them have found the nun they were looking for, and she wasn't even there. She gained a depressed cloud over her. Izuku and Blake hugged her to help lighten up her mood, which it did light her mood up. Izuku and Ruby left for their class while Blake went to hers. During Izuku and Ruby's class it was rather peaceful. When the bell rang that allowed them to head to lunch, one of Sona's peerage members have entered and asked for both Izuku and Ruby. They got up and headed to Sona's office. When they got there, she had a serious look on her face while Blake was sitting on a chair. Sona, why were you three talking about a nun on school grounds, clearly knowing that this is devil's territory? Blake, Sona, the reason we were talking about it was because I overheard a conversation that the fallen angels were talking about the nun, and are only using her until she have used up her usefulness. Sona, what does that have to do with you three talking about that nun? Izuku, she have a sacred gear and she is a naive, the fallen angels are going to use that to make her do their bidding. As Blake said, she is only useful for them for now, when she have used that up. Sona, they are going to kill her and take her sacred gear. Izuku, yes, that is why we need to save her. She doesn't know the danger she is in. Me and Blake have met her. We know how he looks like and how she acts. Sona, so you want to protect her? Blake, yes, she needs as much help as possible because it can end up ugly. Sona, promise me this, never join them and I will look over it. The rogue trio, what do you take us for, traitors? We would never join them. Sona, alright, you three can leave. They then left the office. They checked the time and saw it took 5 minutes, so they head out and begin to eat their prepared lunch. While sitting under the trees, Ruby decided to ask something. Ruby, hey, we always go on patrol together. But even though we always do it together, why not some days one of us should go on a bit of solo patrol? Izuku, now you mention it, we hardly relax. Blake, how about a week system? Ruby, you mean where 1 week Izuku is the one only on patrol while we relax, then the other I could be the one taking the patrol? Blake, yes, and on the 4th week we all go patrol. Izuku, sounds great. Ruby, as long I can hunt some bastards down, whatever it is, devil or human, I am alright. They then finished their lunch before heading back inside, after what seemed like a long day of school with Ruby almost making a scene during class. To tell Izuku had to carry her was a sight to see for most students. She clung to his back while he sighed. When they got to Blake's class, Ruby had taken a nap and Izuku could only mentally prepare for when Blake's class was done. Sona, well, she seems clingy to you. Izuku, well, class tired her out, so she asked me to carry her, and now we are here. Sona, you care about those two really much. Izuku, they were the only people I could relate to have been in my situation, so we started to talk with each other before we got here, starting on a fresh kinda all three of us. Sona, I can only wish you well. I have to finish up some business in my office. Have a good day. Izuku, thanks, and you too. She left Izuku while he was still carrying Ruby on his back. Blake soon come out to see what was happening, and Izuku explained how the lesson in their last class was tiring. Blake understood, but Ruby was a bit smug before napping. They ended up walking normally home, and on the way Izuku was wondering something. Izuku, hey Blake, should you, me and Ruby just relax today? I mean, we barely relax anyways, and we could use some relaxing once in a while. Blake, yeah, how about we all go on a walk? When they were almost there, Izuku heard Ruby yawn a bit before opening her eyes. She got off Izuku's back while he sighed a bit in relief. Ruby, great, we are almost home. Izuku, hey Ruby, up for going on a walk just today? Ruby, sure. They place their stuff inside before they are going out on a walk. While on the walk they begin to speak with each other. They were talking about what would happen if their past managed to find them. Izuku said that when that happened they will deal with them together. They checked the time to see it was nearing 7 p.m. They head to a near fast food place to get some dinner before they continue on their walk. Izuku was a bit in his thoughts. He was still focusing on his dream about that dragon. Blake, hey Izuku, you have been quiet a lot. Izuku, sorry, I was still remembering a dream I had. Ruby, what was the dream about? Izuku, I was floating in an area that had been destroyed by something. In the sky there was crimson stars while a dragon was floating around a bit away from me. It then looked towards me before charging towards me. It then was about to eat me and I then woke up. Blake, sounds like a crazy dream. Ruby, yeah, a giant dragon eating you in your dreams sounds more like a nightmare. Izuku, well, it is alright, nothing crazy happened after that. Ruby, hey, quick question. Izuku, what is it, Ruby? Ruby, were we supposed to take our weapons with us? Blake, wait, you also took your weapon with you. Ruby, I am not going anywhere without my sweetheart Crescent Rose. Izuku and Blake's sweat dropped at her. Izuku and Blake mind, she really will never change. They continue to walk when they hear the sound of pain come from a house. It also sounded like someone was fighting. Izuku's danger sense went off crazy around the house and he went inside. Blake and Ruby enter with him. They see a bright light come from a room and Izuku went into the room. He see Issei on the ground and in front of them is man. He is holding a sword made of a light and a gun in his hands. Izuku, who are you and what are you doing to Issei? My name is Freed Selzen, and I am going to kill this shit stain of a devil. Now who are you? Izuku used one for all and punched Freed into a nearby wall. It shocked both Freed and Issei that watched Izuku's powers. Issei, wait, you are. Izuku, call your master Issei. I will deal with him in the meantime. Freed, you are human, why aren't you helping me? Izuku, I am not with anyone in this case, the devils barely even have gotten close to my trust, and you are nothing for more than a crazy asshole. Freed was about to shoot him when Ruby have slashed his stomach leaving a scar on it. He held his stomach due to the pain, while with Blake she was keeping a mouth on Asia that was currently seeing this. Blake, sure he can't know about me being here. While with Ruby and Izuku was glaring at the man in front of them, Ruby take a quick look to her left to see a person that's skinned alive. Izuku, did you do this? Freed, oh I see you have noticed my work. Ruby, you make me sick. Suddenly a red glow appear and the people that come out from it was Rias and her peerage. Rias, well isn't the rogues. Izuku, only 2 of us, the third one should have taken the little nun away from here. Freed, you damn brats. Ruby, well buck you too. She flipped him the bird. Izuku knew her change in personality meant only one thing, she was acting how she truly acts now, unlike what people see her as when they were both in their old worlds and Academy. She acts different. Izuku, trust me Kaneko, we keep a lot of secrets. One of them is how we actually act. Betrayal can change everyone, but for her, it was her own sister that hurt the most, so her changing personality is not that surprising. Akino, well I think I can get along with them just fine. Rias, now is not the time Akino. Freed, while you people were chatting, I have called my reinforcement. A rift-like portal appear in the middle of the room. Rias, I think it is time to go. Izuku, hey Rias, how about me and Ruby help you send a message to them? Akino, Rias please allow him, I want the fallen angels scream. She was having a smile on her face while her face got blush on it. Rias just sighed at this. Rias, alright everyone, prepare for a fight. Izuku powered up his quirk, Ruby held on to Crescent Rose, the fallen angels came out of the rift. Look what we have here, the person that sent us flying out of a window almost killing us. Izuku, oh the fallen annoying crows tried to kill us when we just arrived. The fallen formed a light spear while the other did the same. Izuku, well, looks like one of you didn't remember something. Izuku activated Black Whip and they clearly knew that he was a problem. They throw a light spear towards him, but he catch it with Black Whip. The devils begin to fight them except Kaneko, Ruby and a boy they know as Kiba. They were fighting Freed Selzen. They saw the fallen angels struggling. They were about to defeat them until the leader of the group told them to retrieve. She glared at Izuku before they left. Issei, man that was a bit tough. Izuku, yeah? He and Ruby begin to leave but Issei stopped them. Issei, hey where are you going? Izuku, home, be thankful me and Ruby helped. They left the house before heading home. When they arrived Izuku just went into his room while Ruby was about to enter hers but saw that Asia was sleeping in her bed so she sighed. Ruby, Izuku can I sleep in your room for tonight? Izuku, why? Ruby, Asia is sleeping in my bed. Izuku, yes sure, let me just change into some other pants, today was too tiring. Ruby agreed. She waited for a minute before she heard Izuku tell her to come in. She enters the room and sees Izuku was sleeping with his back facing her. Izuku, good night Ruby. Ruby, good night Izuku. She enters his bed ignoring the dragon-like scar on his back before falling asleep. While Izuku was dreaming he heard the roar again. But this time he could move. He was standing on some sort of temple and floating around it was a dragon. In the sky the crimson stars was moving and began to shape the dragon-like scar on his back. Izuku, who are you and what do you want from me? He didn't get an answer, instead he heard a loud roar and saw a monster. He saw it have 7 heads that have different type of animals, 3 tails. It had a giant body covered with scales and fur, 4 arms with claw-like fingertips, tentacles that comes from its back, and the last part of it was its giant legs. The dragon suddenly fly towards the beast and begin to fight it. Izuku watched as the dragon was overpowering the beast. The monster tried to grab the dragon. Soon the stars glowed brighter as the monster was forced to its knees. Izuku watched the dragon charge towards it and pierce through its body before everything becomes white. He looked around, seeing not a soul. This was the day that all dragons lost one of their most strongest ones. Izuku, what was this about? Izuku Midoriya, you have been chosen as the person that holds this dragon's immense power. Find its 6 children that are almost as strong as the 2 new strongest dragons. When you have found them, you will get their power and more of this dragon's power. Izuku, why me? You aren't the only one being chosen for special powers, but for your 2 friends to unlock theirs, they need to find their own nature, not being a good or bad but their own. They have to choose who they are, just like when you first meet them you choose who you were. Izuku then woke up the next morning. He felt some cuddle him, and he already knew who. Izuku, hey Ruby, wake up. Ruby woke up with a cute yawn. Ruby, alright, I will wake up Asia. She may have been a bit traumatized by the experience. She went and did what she have said. Asia come out to have breakfast with them. Izuku, hey, how about we have fun in the city? Ruby, sure. Asia, I guess so. They went outside and began to walk around. They went into a nearby arcade and began to play on the arcade machine. Ruby had a blast while Asia tried to win a toy from the toy machine. Izuku saw this and went over to help her win the toy she wanted. After that fun experience, they went to get some lunch. Ruby got a message from Blake and Ruby told their location and she was heading there already. When they got at the place, Blake was waiting for them before they entered the place. They sat down and ordered burgers, fries and a soda. They did have to teach Asia how to eat a burger without a fork and knife. They then leave the place before taking a walk in the park. Izuku, today have been fun. Ruby, it really have. Blake, wish I was there, but then again, Izuku is the earliest bird, so it isn't a surprise you 2 ended leaving without me. But why did you wake Asia up? Izuku, well, from what I can tell, Asia isn't probably taught about what to do in the world except when in a church. Ruby, true. Asia, why do you not know that much except from some very few basics? Asia, well, I was left in front of a crutch by my parents. She then explains her whole backstory and how she ended up where she is now. There's no way I am writing a whole backstory in this chapter. Izuku, something seemed fishy about it. Blake, he is right. Before Asia could say anything, Izuku activate Black Whip and grab a light spear heading towards Ruby. He looked behind Ruby to see the leader of the fallen angel group that have attacked them twice now, probably 3 times. Asia, Lady Raynara? Raynara, Asia, I have come to pick you up, but you have befriended 3 of our enemies, so they will unfortunately suffer for you leaving. Izuku, Blake, Ruby, take Asia and leave now. Ruby, but... Izuku, I will be fine. Both nodded before leaving. Izuku, just you and me. Raynara, he indeed, now die. She threw a light spear towards him, but he grabbed it with his hand. Raynara smirked at this before forming another spear. She spun the spear in her hand before charging at him, trying to stab him with the spear, but Izuku dodges before trying to slice her with spear he is holding. She was slashed across her cheek before she tried and jab at him. Izuku managed to dodge. He used one for all and managed to stab the fallen angel in the stomach. She had enough and stopped using her magic to make sure the spear didn't disappear. She then tried to stab him, but he avoided her. She used Black Whip and forced her onto the ground. They both glare at each other. Raynara, go on, kill me. Izuku, I would, but... He deactivated Black Whip. Izuku, I'd rather deal with you when you and your friends are together. Wouldn't be fair, as you have seen. Now leave. Raynara growled at this. She have just lost to a human, and she couldn't be more angry at this. She opened a portal before disappearing. Izuku, come out. Sona, I know you've been watching for some time. Sona comes out having a neutral expression. Sona, Rias told me about yours and Ruby's stunt yesterday. They know about you too, and it won't be long before Blake also get exposed. Izuku, we couldn't really care. Sona sighed at this. They may be difficult, but they had their reason. Sona, promise me at least one thing. Izuku, what do you need? Sona, just don't get into trouble with the more civilian citizen. Izuku, that is a promise me and the girls can keep. Sona nodded before giving him a quick hug and leaving. Izuku was about to leave as well when he felt the presences. He turns towards it and saw a small girl with black hair and gray eyes looking at him. She was wearing a black dress with a pink shirt inside it. The shirt have a black X on it as well. Izuku, who are you? The girl just looked at him before just saying, "You are interesting, coming from a whole another world and now you are here." Izuku was a bit weirded out by how devoid of emotion her voice sounded like. She walked over to the small girl before picking her up into eye level. Izuku, do you have any parents? No. Izuku, are they dead? No. Izuku, then you are coming with little girl, then you would at least have a home for the meantime. Izuku held the girl close to his right side by holding an arm around her waist before walking back to their apartment. While in the woods, a couple could be seen dead as a person with red hair, pure black skin and red eyes with black around them. The person was wearing a pink sweater and black pants. I did it again, please someone help me. The person could be seen crying on the ground while covering their eyes with their hands, while with Izuku, he felt something wrong in the forest, so he was going to investigate that after he have dealt with the fallen angels. Dealing with fallen angels, the Chaos Demon's child and Leviathan. Izuku returned home and stood right in front of the door still holding the child. He found he had a smirk while the child just have one thought. Mind, he is planning something stupid. Izuku kicked the door open, choking the three girls inside. Seeing how Blake somehow attached herself to the ceiling, Izuku couldn't help but laugh. Blake, why did you decide to kick the door open? Izuku, the real question is how you are holding onto the ceiling like a spider? Blake then fall onto the ground while both Asia and Ruby noticed the child Izuku is holding. Hello there. Ruby, Izuku, where did you find her? Izuku, in the park, she doesn't have any parents. Blake, does she even have any relatives? No. Izuku, she is staying here for a while then. Blake, we need to ask Sona to get us a better place to stay then, because this will be way too crowded with how many people are going to end up staying. Izuku, good idea, I will call her and ask if she can. He went to call Sona while Blake and Ruby continued to stare at the child. Ruby, you aren't a normal child, are you? Blake, are you even a child at all? You are right, I am not a child. Blake, that explains many things. I find that green-haired boy interesting. Ruby and Blake just look at each other. They both had the same thought. That was there is something wrong with this child-looking being. If I am going to stay here, then I want people leave me in silence. Blake, the only loud thing that is going to happen is probably Ruby that begins to snore. Ruby, HEY. The child that floats to the couch before falling asleep there. Blake took out some noise-canceling headphones. Ruby, when did you get that? Blake, during a weekend, so when you begin to talk loudly with Izuku I could read my book in peace. She then placed the headphones on the sleeping child-looking being before going back to reading her book. Ruby just sighed before going to Izuku's room. She knocked twice on the door before Izuku opened. Izuku, yes Ruby? Ruby, so what did Sona say? Izuku, they will make us a place to stay. Ruby, that's good, now what are we going to do against the crows? Izuku, tonight we are having dead crows for a midnight snack. Sona have called her sister to ask if we can get rid of them once and for all. Ruby, perfect. She then went to inform Blake about what their plan was tonight. That night Izuku, Blake and Ruby was in their suits scouting the church from a nearby roof as Sona appeared behind them. Izuku, do we have the green light? Sona, my sister have contacted the leader of the fallen ones and talked about those that are in the church. Their mission was to observe, not kill. You have the green light to get rid of them. Write their names to make sure you got the right ones. In his eyes they have become rogue just like you three. I wish you all luck. She left the trio on the roof as they took one glance at the church. Izuku ready. Blake and Ruby, time to make a early Thanksgiving. They then disappear from the rooftop. while not long away from them a guy was looking at them. He had black hair with golden bangs. Well, looks like they are going to die. But then again, it was their choice, so now they aren't my problem. He vanished in a yellow circle. While with the trio they were outside the church, they take a look inside to see Fried just pacing around while spinning his pistol on his finger. Izuku, so Blake, mind taking care of the priest inside there? Blake, with pleasure. With that said, she jumped through the window. When the sound of glass broke was heard, Fried looks towards the broken window and see Blake that have landed in the middle of the floor. He fires a bullet towards Blake, but Blake uses a shadow clone to dash herself away from the bullets. She then take out Gamble's shroud and begin to try slash Fried. But he managed to block her attack. She used her semblance to push Fried more back. Fried, you damn bastard, when I manage to capture you, I hope you are ready to scream. Blake, my former leader sounds like a way better date than you ever will be, and he was an extremist too. This only got Fried more mad and he tried to counter her, but all it did was getting him landed with a slash across his chest from Blake. Fried glared at her but suddenly was sent backwards before holding his chest from where he had been kicked. Fried, so did those devils send you to kill us? She appeared in front of him before stabbing one arm to the ground while standing on the other. Blake, no, we waited until we had the green light from the leader of the fallen angels. First, now we can get rid of those crows once and for all. No more letting them escape. We take orders from no one. We don't trust the devils. The only reason we still are working with them is as long they can provide us help. Until then, this is nothing more the business. While the reason we did not get rid of them earlier was because the last thing we wanted was to be the one that started a war between the fallen angels and devils. She stabbed Fried one last time in his stomach, before sighing. Izuku, one down, for more to go. Ruby, if they have more followers, let me take care of them. Izuku, you take care of the fallen ones since you have the better advantage over them. We will try shoot them down to help, but I would like to fight them too. Izuku nodded. They begin to search for where they can be until Blake's cat ears twitch. She looked towards the altar. She went over it before placing a foot on it before using her leg's strength to push it, revealing a hidden staircase. Izuku and Ruby went to her, looking downwards to the staircase. Ruby, time to pluck some feathers from some crows. They walked down the stairs, Izuku first, Blake second and Ruby last. When they got down the stairs, Izuku sees some rogue exorcist. He looked towards Ruby as she smiled. She unfolded crescent rose. Ruby, come at me, buckers. Izuku and Blake saw Ruby begin fighting the exorcist. She slashed 4 of them in half. She shoot one of them in the eye. She was killing 5 more, but Izuku saw one of the fallen ones about to throw a light spear, but Izuku hit the spear with an air bullet. Izuku, wow, you fallen ones are real cowards, waiting until our backs is turned or we are distracted. They fallen angels come out. Izuku noticed it was just 3 female and 1 male. Izuku, do I want to know why there is only 1 male person in your little squad? The fallen ones got embarrassed from what Izuku said. They throw light spears at him and Blake. Izuku picked up Blake before jumping out the way. When he landed, he put her down. Blake was blushing under the mask but stayed focused. She detached the pistol from the blade of Gamble's shroud before shooting at the fallen angels. Ruby, on the other hand, have just slashed a person into multiple pieces. Ruby mind, no, there's only 7 left. This is going to be fun causing them pain. She then proceeded to stab one of them in the stomach before repeatedly stabbing the same spot until the person was dead. She take out an electricity dust crystal before shoving into one of the exorcist's eye. She shoot the crystal before he got electrocuted. She raised her SCYTH before spinning it, hitting the ground as it cracked. Ruby, does anyone else want some? A exorcist tried to flee only for Ruby to appear beside him. A silver glow come from her mask before the exorcist was felt blood run down his neck. While with Izuku, he was beating up the male fallen angel, while using Black Whip to hold the other 3 in place. Izuku, do you want more Donasek? Donasek, you bucking human brat! I will kill you, you hear me? Izuku, well then, guess you will just have to die. He used a Black Whip to grab a light sword from the ground and bring it to him before he stabbed Donasek in the chest. He twisted the blade 90 degrees before forcing it upwards, killing the fallen angel as he turns into feathers. Izuku, hey Blake, which one do you want to deal with? Blake, give me the blue-haired one. Izuku let go off the blue fallen angel before breaking her wings to make sure Blake and the fallen would fight on equal ground. Blake reattached the blade onto the pistol before looking at the fallen angel that had gotten up. Blake, so before you get to say your last words, what is your name, Fallen One? What makes you think you can kill me? Blake, well he. She points to Izuku that was leaning against wall. Blake, killed one of your fallen squad. That means nothing. Izuku, I could kill you myself right here and right now, but I want my friends here to have some fun of her own. Before the fallen could ask any question, she was kicked in her right hip by Blake. She barely managed to avoid a slash from Blake before creating a light spear to block the attack. Blake detached the blade from the pistol and began to shoot the fallen. The fallen used a magic circle to block the bullets, but Blake quickly reattached the blade before dashing towards the fallen before appear behind the fallen and slash its back. Blake, still think what he did is nothing? You three will wish you never messed with me. Blake, we don't even know your name, say it and maybe we will feel fear. Izuku could tell the sarcasm at the end, but he went along with it just so he can cross the fallen angel's name out in his notebook before giving a report to Sona about the fallen angels that have died. Izuku, she is right, we don't know your name, so if you manage to kill two of us, how will the third one that have escaped fear you? The fallen angel just stood still for a whole minute before gaining an angered expression. She made several magic circles before firing a barrage of light spears at Blake, Izuku and Ruby. Izuku used Black Whip to grab the dead bodies of exorcists and block the light spears to protect them. Rainer sees this and tries to remove the Black Whip from her mouth but couldn't. Izuku was struggling to use the bodies as shields, so he lessened Black Whip on both the fallen angels as the one Blake is fighting is still continuing to attack. Both the two tied-up fallen angels noticed their friend breathing heavily as she continued to attack. Stop! No, they have to die. Rainer, they just right now have to wait until you are tired out. Stop it now. I am not stopping. Calawarna, stop. Ruby, so that is her name. Izuku, did you get that? Izuku, loud and clear. Blake, finish her. Blake, with pleasure. She jumps over the human Quirk shield before using her semblance to help her avoid the incoming light spears. Calawarna attack was becoming slower, and she tried to defend herself with a light spear but suddenly felt a cut from her left shoulder to her right leg. She turns around and see Blake spin Gamble Shroud before shaking it. Calawarna, how? Blake, you used all your energy to try and take us all down. All we had to do was either for you or your team to reveal your name, then I would have taken you down. Calawarna becoming black feathers before they fall to the ground, showing she is dead. Rainer and her last teammate are still in the Black Whip. Izuku, 2 down, 1 more to go. Ruby, why only 1? Blake, I think I have an idea what you are planning. Ruby follows Blake's masked gaze and she sees that Blake is looking at Rainer. Ruby, I see your plan, let's get rid of the last fallen angel. Izuku let go of the blonde fallen one. She tried to fly out of the basement but was met with both her wings being damaged by bullets and Black Whip. She falls to the ground as Ruby have crescent rows ready to kill her. The fallen angel sees the blood and begin to panic. She saw how Ruby have killed all the rogue exorcists in the room alone. Ruby, did you get cold feet? Well, too bad, you aren't getting out of here alive. I should have stayed in Grigori when I still have the chance. They all hear someone clap as they all turn to a man with black hair and golden bangs. He has 6 pair of black wings and looking at them. You 4 could also have do your actual mission. Rainer, listen, we save it. I gave you for one specific mission, that was observe people with sacred gear, not kill them. I was called by the Mao Leviathan. She asked about you 4. When I explained her the mission I gave you 4 to do, I was greeted with the surprise of what you actually have done. You 4 are considered rogue and can't return to the Grigori. Now you 3 can carry on. Ruby, well, we need to know her name before we kill her. Her name is Middled. I can tell you have already handled Donasek and Calawarna. Izuku, yes, do you have a problem? No, after this I want to talk to you 3, is that alright? Blake, no funny business then. You have my word. He then began to walk up, as Ruby removed her mask revealing her silver eyes had a glow to them. The glow reminded everyone of fire as she charged at Middled. she managed to block it with a barrier but had to quickly react to another slash from Ruby. Middle tries her best to block Ruby's attack, but each time Ruby would be able to give Middle a cut on her skin and clothes. Ruby made a fake attack which forced Middle to block, but she was suddenly stabbed in the back by Ruby. Rainier could only watch in sadness as her friend was slowly dying. Middle tried to defend herself but was proven powerless against Ruby. Ruby pulls out a fire dust crystal while slowly walking towards Middle as she tried to crawl backwards away. Middle remembered first time they attacked them, they thought they were weak, but that was only because they were still on the ground. Now it is shown that they just needed their wings to be damaged to show how dangerous they really are. Ruby was now above her. She slammed the bottom of her scythe into the wound. Ruby, look at you, powerless on the ground as me and my friends have taken you down. You are only strong in the air, but down here, we have the upper hand. Ruby then forced the dust crystal into Middle's mouth as she looked at her with a sick smile. Ruby, and you three were our prey. We have went from being nice people into predators that are hunting for people like you. She changed her scythe into sniper mode while glaring down at the fallen. Ruby, I hope this was worth it for you, my little prey. Now goodbye, shit stain. She shot the dust crystal in the fallen angel's mouth as it blew Middle's head off. She then turns to Blake and Izuku. Ruby, so what is the plan? Izuku, well, this little fallen angel. As he pointed his thumb to her. Izuku, killed Issei, so why not give her to him? Ruby, that sounds like a fun idea. Rainier, do I? The rogue trio, no. They then begin to walk up the stairs to see the man leaning against the door speaking with Sona. I am sorry for what my workers did, their mission was only to observe, not kill. Sona, how I am sure you didn't do it on purpose. Because I am only interested studying sacred gears. Nothing more, nothing less. Izuku, hey Sona, who is he? Sona, meet the leader of the fallen angels, Azazel. Azazel, greetings, now that we have introduced. He looked at Rainier that is trying to get out. Azazel, I thought you would have let her die. Izuku, nah, we planned give her to a friend of ours that she killed but is now revived as a devil, kinda like a servant. Sona hears this and get a small smile. Sona, well, that is one thing worse than death for any girl. Azazel, not a bad idea, that is a better punishment. He went over to her before a magic circle appeared on Rainier's shoulder. Azazel, now she can't kill that Issei kid. They all hear something break as they turn around. They see a woman with red goggles and brown mouth cover that remind everyone of a gas mask, brown short hair. She is wearing a white shirt with red stripes, gray shorts. Her arms and legs are black and two black horns coming out of her head. Woman, where is she? Azazel, who are you talking about and who are you? Woman, damn it, she isn't here. She jumped back out of the broken window she jumped through. Izuku, well, this have been a long day, I could use some rest. Blake, same. Ruby, even I feel tired. Azazel, let's talk more tomorrow. Izuku, yes, sure, but can you take care of her for a while? He points to Rainier that still was stuck in Black Whip. Azazel, sure. Izuku let her go before Azazel knocked her out before leaving in a magic circle. Sona, tomorrow you three can move into your new place. Izuku, thanks Sona. They walked outside while Sona disappeared. Right before they get out the forest, Izuku hears a song that for some reason drawn him closer. He began to slowly walk towards the person singing it as Ruby and Blake follow him. They got to a lake and in front of them was a girl singing. Izuku just listened while Blake and Ruby look at each other confused on why Izuku would just walk all the way over here. Ruby noticed Izuku's back begin to glow a bit. She wondered why it suddenly began to glow as they continued to listen. Ruby mind, what in the world, what is that glowing mark on his back and who is that girl? How did he know she was out here? They listened to the girl still singing when suddenly they heard something. Before they could react, Izuku was tackled by something. He kicked it in the stomach before launching it into a tree behind him. He managed to get up, barely avoiding a slash from the person or thing that attacked him. Ruby tried to slash the thing that have attacked Izuku and Blake tried to dash around it, but it seems both of them had no effect. The thing suddenly knocked both Ruby and Blake into a tree before grabbing Blake. It was about to eat her when Izuku managed to punch the thing in its head. it let go off Blake and stumble a bit back. Izuku mind, what is this thing? It then grabbed him as pull him closer. Izuku managed to get out of his arm free before blocking its mouth from biting his head off. It bit the arm as Izuku felt the part where his bitten some flesh was bitten off. He kicked the thing away before using Black Whip as a bandage to cover his arm. He looked to see the thing have water flowing down its eyes as he could tell it was crying. He went over to the thing and crouched down as it still was crying, muttering to itself. Izuku decided to do something stupid and hugged the thing as it just hugged him back, crying for a while. After a while it slowly becomes a normal human again. After a while of crying, the now human person have fallen asleep. Izuku put the human against a tree before taking a close look at the human. He noticed it was a girl, but he couldn't inspect the person. He hears something behind him. He looked behind to see the girl from the lake have just stepped on a twig. Before she could react, Izuku have grabbed her neck and slammed her against a tree. Izuku, why were you trying to sneak up on me? I heard you fighting her. She points to the girl that is leaning against the tree. Izuku, why were you singing at the lake? I enjoy singing and the lake remind me kind of like an ocean. She yawns before she slowly begins to close her eyes. Izuku, hey, what is your name? He couldn't hear the first part of her name as she sounded too tired to say a word, but he heard the last name. It was Leviathan. He looked around to see everyone around him was either knocked out or, in the Leviathan girl's case, asleep. Izuku mind, great, I am the only one still conscious or awake. I should try get us all back. He let go of the girl. He then used Black Whip to grab onto all of knocked out girls. Izuku mutter, so many people are going to get the wrong idea. Izuku saw a teddy bear near a bush. He picked it up as he left, but from what he could tell, both the teddy bear and the girl that attacked him, Blake and Ruby, was certain. Izuku mind, I feel the demonic aura coming from her and the teddy bear, but whatever this aura, I can tell from holding her with Black Whip that she is not just some demonic entity. He looked at the girl as he finally managed to take a glance at her brown hair. 2 black horns have come out her head, and while just under her neck a mouth was closing, he could also see she was wearing a pink shirt, but the rest was covered by Black Whip. That was the last thing before the girl opened up her eyes. They were red. Oh, why am I tied up? Izuku, well, you and the 3 besides you. The demonic girl looked to her left to see Ruby and Blake, while to her right was the other girl. Izuku, are coming with me to a place to stay for now. Could you? Izuku, sorry, but after what just happened, no. He rubbed his arm where Black Whip still was covering. The girl looked down guilty, but she was concerned. Isn't it too straining to carry all 4 of us? Izuku, a bit, but that is because I am tired. She kept quiet for a while, but Izuku decided to ask a question. Izuku, hey, you aren't normal. I can tell you are a demonic entity. But why do I feel so much chaos inside of you? I don't feel comfortable to speak about it. Izuku, alright, take your time and tell me when you are ready to tell me why. As Izuku kept walking back to his, Ruby and Blake's apartment with the 4 girl being carried by him, the moon shined bright, but a shadow made it a bit darker as mouth was formed by the shadow showing a creepy smile. While in a cave in a forest with a red sky, a icy chill run through it, and a dragon have awakened to challenge it again before it roared and flew towards it, while in the middle of the same forest a giant rose could be seen moving around while some roots begin to move around, showing that the rose was alive. New place to stay in a frozen familiar forest. If Asia could describe what she saw when Izuku entered the door, it was not a sight she would expect. She saw Izuku carrying Blake and Ruby with 2 other girls inside, while he was covering a part of his arm. Asia, are you okay, Izuku? Izuku, I am tired, but yes, I am okay. Not completely. He should probably see a doctor because I might have bite a bit of flesh off his arm. Izuku didn't say anything but only walked to Blake and Ruby's room and put the 2 girl on their bed using Black Whip. He then walked back into the living room before letting go of the demonic one and placing the Leviathan on the couch, while the child he had brought in earlier was nowhere to be seen. Izuku, where is the child? Asia, she is in the bathroom and is sleeping on the floor there. Don't worry, I got her a blanket. Izuku sighed. He felt like he was about to pass out. Asia had her hands hover over his wound before she healed it. He felt the rest of his energy leaving before passing out. Ruby's POV. I wake up with a yawn. I look at the clock and notice it was 9 a.m. in the morning. I stretch before getting out the door to see Asia is somehow making breakfast. I look at the couch to see the girl at the lake from yesterday night. She had white noble dress and light purple hair. On the table another sleeping girl could be seen. She seems to shrink a bit, and was sleeping with something in her arms. Ruby, hey Asia, what are you making? Asia, well, I tried to learn how to make breakfast, but for now I am trying to make some toast. Ruby, it is a start, that is for sure. I didn't know where to sit because the couch was being taken up by the girl from the lake while the other was sleeping on the table. I sigh as we really needed a better place. I pull out my scroll and begin playing some video games on them to pass the time. What are you doing? I look to my left and see the child being floating on my left looking at my scroll. I jump back a bit in surprise but collected myself. What are you doing? Ruby, passing the time. I see, can I watch? Ruby, alright, just don't distract me. I begin to play the game. After what seems like 28 minutes I see the girl from the lake wake up. She look around before spotting me. Hi. Ruby, hello, I never got your name, I was knocked out. Oh, my name is Ingvild Leviathan. Ruby, well, my name is Ruby Rose. We suddenly heard a groan and I turn around to see Blake have woken up. I take a quick notice and realize we still are in our rogue clothes. Ruby, Blake, I think we should change before you say anything. Blake, why? Ruby, take a quick look at me then at the clothes you are wearing. Blake looked at me and noticed my rogue clothes. She then looked down at herself before going back to our bedroom and changed before coming out in a gray long-sleeved shirt and white sweatpants. I sighed before heading in myself to change. We really needed a new place to stay because this was getting too crowded. I do wonder how Izuku is feeling. He is the only boy in this apartment right now. Please be quiet, I am trying to sleep here. Ingvild, I'm sorry. Blake, Ruby, aren't you going to change? Ruby, I am too tired right now after getting rid of those fallen angels. I wonder how that Rainier girl is going to be after we gave her to Azazel that is going to give her to Issei. Blake, now I wonder that as well. I watch as Blake barely avoided the sofa with Ingvild still on it thrown at her. I look towards the girl on the table to see her arm change back to normal. I suddenly smell something burning and look towards Asia and see smoke coming from the pan. Blake's POV. I watch as Ruby went over to help Asia while I watch the girl on the table get up with an annoyed groan. I sighed because it really was getting crowded. Ingvild, hi. I am Ingvild Leviathan, nice to meet you. She held out her hand but I just nodded. Blake, my name is Blake Belladonna. I just sigh. Now we don't have anywhere to sit since the couch was destroyed. I hear Izuku's door open as he come out. Blake, morning Izuku. Izuku, morning Blake. Blake, how are you? I could see his right eye twitch. I gulped as I could tell he was really annoyed. Izuku, where do I begin? He then take a thinking pose before glaring at everyone. I froze in fear as everyone also did. Izuku, you and Ruby were knocked out. And I never got your full name. Ingvild, I am Ingvild Leviathan. Izuku, Ingvild have fallen asleep. And she. He points to the girl on the table as she looked down in shame. Izuku, bited some flesh off my arm. Luckily Asia healed that part, but I had Tio carry all 4 of you people back here. How do you think I am? Suddenly someone knocked at our door as Izuku walked up to it before angrily opening it. Izuku, what do you want? I see he stopped mid-sentence. I walk over to see Sona standing there looking at us. Sona, someone is not in a good mood. Blake, that one is on me. Ruby, that girl on the table. I point behind me to the girl. Blake, and Ingvild. Ingvild waved to Sona. Sona, now I see why you need a new place. Are we sure he isn't like Issei? Blake, well, he respect me and Ruby's boundaries, so I don't think so, and it should also be added that the only people here right now that probably don't respect boundaries are me and Ruby. We tend to annoy each other when one of us is sleeping, so we sleep in his room instead. Sona, alright. I look at Izuku as he walks over to the kitchen before making himself some coffee. I can tell he wasn't going to pour us some coffee for himself. We all watched as the coffee was done being made before he began to chug the whole pot of coffee like nothing. Blake, well, he really needs that. Sona, yep, wasn't there supposed to be a couch? Blake, there was, but it is now over there. I point to the now destroyed couch. Sona, I don't want to know why. Asia and Ruby finished breakfast while Izuku was done chugging his coffee. Between everyone in this apartment, only he had a reason to drink that much without anyone questioning it. We all kinda sit at the table and try to eat. After we ate, me, Ruby and Izuku changed into some more casual clothes. When we were done, we walk out to see Sona speaking with Asia. Blake, hey Ingvild, what are they talking about? Ingvild, well, Sona need to set some rules for Asia since she will need to attend a school to make sure she isn't trying anything. She is also asking if she can help her friend with a problem of hers. Izuku, what is that so-called problem? Ingvild, something about a friend of hers named Rias that could use her help due to a forced engagement. I look at Izuku as I can tell he was thinking of something. Izuku, hey Asia, quick question, how do you feel about being a devil? Asia, well, I was raised in a church but they have kicked me out, and the fallen angels just used me, so I don't really know. Sona, well, my friend and her family always treat their peerage as family, it is kinda their ideals. Ruby, if what she says is true then it could also bring her more protection. Blake, she isn't wrong. Sona, pack your things, your new place is set up and I am taking you there now. Ruby was gone the moment she heard that into her room and began to pack her things. I see Izuku shrug before going into his own room. I face palm. I at least hope it would be big enough for everyone here. Sona, is she always like this? Blake, we tend to act as our past selves when we are more civil. When we are rogues we have a personality switch. There we act more brutal. You should have seen her when she killed Middlet. I then walked into mine and Ruby's room to pack my things. No one's POV. The rogue trio, with Ruby in changed clothes, as well the people that was staying with them, walked with Sona to their new home. They really needed the space. They walked for a while until they arrive at what looks like a small mansion. Sona, what do you three think? Izuku, we love the space, but isn't it too much and isn't it too expensive? Sona, don't worry, my family is covering the rent for you. Blake, well, thank you then. Sona, no problem. They walk in to see their new home. They were given a tour by Sona before they choose a room for themselves to stay in. After they have settled and they were all going to say goodbye to Sona. But Sona suddenly gets a call from Rias. Sona, hey Rias, do you need anything? Rias, you won't believe me but the familiar forest is frozen over. Sona, pardon? Rias, something have frozen the entire familiar forest. Sona, this can't be good. Rias, get you peerage and hurry over here. She then hang up leaving everyone except a shocked Sona confused. Izuku, do you need some help with that problem? Sona, sure. Izuku, Ruby and Blake quickly switched to their rogue clothes before heading TPO along with Asia. When they arrived they were greeted with Sona and her peerage as well with Rias and her peerage. Rias, you asked them for backup? Sona, they actually asked me. Issei, why still the mask? Izuku, Issei, how many people do you think know of us being people that either hunt strays or criminals before killing them? Issei, I guess that is fair. Kiba, wait, how many have you three actually killed? Blake, how much trauma do you want? Because let me tell you, Ruby is the most scariest out of all three of us. Issei, how bad could it be? Ruby, well, I did blow up a fallen angel's head, while telling it that we are predators and they were our prey. Blake, trust me, she have done worse before we got here. One of the things she have killed was all henchmen in the headquarter of an extremist organization. She did it all alone too while I was told to focus on the leader and his inner circle. Rias and Sona, who are leading you three? Blake, before arriving here, Ruby was my team leader and still kinda was after we went rogue. Now no one, we just have each other's back. Izuku, shouldn't we focus on that so-called familiar forest? Rias, right, but what about her? Issei, you three brought Asia here? Ruby, well, she is going to join Rias' peerage. Issei, Asia, are you sure? Asia then thought for a bit before nodding. Sona, let's do that after we have made sure the familiar forest isn't frozen over. Rias then make a magic circle transporting them into the familiar forest. When they arrive, they look around to see it was snowing as snow was covering the trees around here. Familiars were freezing while in the distance a loud blast could be heard as well. A blue beam was shot at something. They heard someone sneezed. They all look up into the tree to see a middle-aged man with a lanky appearance. He has a neck-length red hair tied in a low ponytail and has brown eyes. He wears a white top, black short with a green sweater wrapped around his waist, white socks, brown sneakers, black fingerless gloves, a dark blue cap and carries a yellow backpack. Sona, what happened here? There is something that have angered Tiamat. They have been fighting ever since yesterday night. Blake, who is he? Rias, that is the familiar master, Zatuji. Sona, what kind of beast think it is a good idea to challenge Tiamat? She is a dragon king and is the strongest of them. Izuku, mind telling the rogue trio and Asia here who Tiamat is? Issei, I also want to know. Rias, from what I have heard from my brother, Tiamat is the strongest dragon. Many devils have tried to tame her but failed and lost their lives. There is only one person that have managed to make some kind of contract with her. That person is Ajuka Beelzebub. She is indebted to him, but no one know why. Issei, she sounds scary but badass. Izuku, Issei, get your gear out, in case she comes to attack us. Issei, got it Izuku. His gauntlet appeared on his hand which let out a bright green light. While with Tiamat and the beast she is battling, she felt the aura that she is all too familiar with. Tiamat mind, Drake new host is here, got to get this thing away from me. She found an opening and quickly fired a large fireball at it before slamming right into it, pushing it backwards. She then fly away towards the green glow that was disappearing. Sona, wait, did everyone hear that? Asia, hear what? Izuku, Issei, look out. He managed to use Black Whip and get Issei away from a fireball. Tiamat, DDRAIG. Is that Tiamat? Zatuji, indeed it is, the strongest being in the familiar forest and the most dangerous. Before she could fire another fireball at Issei, Izuku have managed to hit it with the air punch. Izuku, not today! Suddenly his back glowed as everyone suddenly saw a dragon foot appear on the side of his legs. Deep in the forest a red-flowered dragon with a black body roared in his direction before a black and purple energy come out of it and flew towards him. While with Izuku he was keeping Tiamat away from Issei by distracting her. He was suddenly hit by the energy as a storm appeared around him while making everyone have to cover their eyes to not be blinded. Tiamat mind, what in the name of Great Red, what was that? Suddenly black and purple flames appeared on Izuku's legs as he vanished from Tiamat's vision before appearing above her, kicking her down to the ground. Sona mind, what was energy and did that make him stronger? Suddenly a roar could be heard. Their breath let out a small fog whenever they breathed out. They all turned towards the roar as they see a giant white beast. It have blue crystals running from its head down to its tail. At the end of the tail it have 4 more crystals that are bended in the middle. Its eyes was glowing and glaring at Tiamat. Ruby, I think we have found the thing that have frozen the familiar forest. Tiamat, damn it, I thought it would give up. Issei, what? Tiamat, I challenged that thing to a fight, but I only survived because I was in the air. Here on the ground it will defeat me with ease since it almost froze me solid. Barely managed to get it to stop. She tried to get up but the kick Izuku have done make her feel weakened to stand up. She watched as it was about to send out a beam at her but suddenly. Issei, dragon shot. He sent out a red beam towards it, hitting it in the head before it slided backwards. This shocked everyone except the rogues. They at this point aren't surprised by anything after they have dealt with everything from yesterday. Rias, Issei, when could you do that? Issei, He looks towards Ruby before sweating nervously. Issei, I don't want to remember how. This left everyone with questions. What happened that scared Issei? Before they could question it, the beast sent a beam of ice towards them. They barely avoided it. Rias hit it with a blast of red and black energy. Blake detached the blade of her gamble shroud. She began to shoot the beast but it seems like it had no effect. Ruby hit it with Crescent Rose in sniper mode but all it did was annoy it more. It tried blast Ruby with its ice-like beam, trying to hit her while she used her semblance to avoid. Rias began to blast more of her magic at the beast. Blake, hey Sona, what is the type of magic that Rias is using? Sona, it is called Power of Destruction. It have the power to destroy things on a subatomic level if it is strong enough. The beast was hit by a combination of wind-pressured punch with black and purple flames. Izuku began to summon up a storm again as leaves was picked of the trees due to the winds. Everyone tried to cover themselves as the leaves was frozen enough the edges of them are sharpened. Blake mind, could he always do that? Ruby mind, this wind is getting stronger by the second, what is he up to? Suddenly he compressed the wind in his hand before reeling his arm back. He then thrust I for it landed on its back, sending it flying before it landed on its back. The glow faded as Izuku lowered himself to the ground. Issei, since when could you do that? Izuku, it is also new for me, I just followed my instincts. They all turned to the beast as it got up. Izuku, want more? He charged up one for all and glared at it. It just walked to him before lowering its head to him. Izuku, Sona, I think it want to be your familiar. Izuku, how do I? Sona, let me do and I will transfer the ownership to you. I don't know if something like this work, but I believe only devils can get familiar, and since Ruby, Izuku and Blake aren't devils yet, I needed some way for them to get one. Tiamat, color me impressed kid, you managed to tame it. Izuku, thanks. Tiamat, now then. She glared at Issei but suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. The Dragon King looked at each of the rogues as they let out dangerous aura. Blake, you get two options. Ruby, either be his familiar as a sorry for what you done. Izuku, or I could beat you up and possibly kill you, choose wisely. Tiamat debated in her head before sighing. Tiamat, fine, on one condition. When he is strong enough he have to help me with something, understand? Issei, whatever you need. Izuku, but if you betray him. Ruby, we are going to make some dragon stew. Blake, so do you want to test us? Tiamat, after what that boy did, I'd rather stay alive. Sona makes a contract with the beast before transfer the ownership of it to Izuku. Suddenly a glow came from the beast as it began to shrink down until it looked more like a baby version of it. Ruby, it is so cute, kinda remind me of. She paused mid-sentence. Everyone looked at her, as tears could be seen leaking out of the mask. Blake, you still miss Vi, I can understand, he was a good dog, and you have had him for a long time, just wish we never left him behind so you still have him with you. Ruby, it's fine. She lifted her mask before rubbing her eyes with her other arm before lower it down. Ruby, it's in the past. Izuku and Blake went over and hugged her. She was a bit shocked but slowly teared up. Izuku, come on, let it all out. Blake, we will make sure you see him again, even if the last thing we do. Ruby began to cry because of that while hugging them back. Rias, should we? Sona, yeah, let's leave them alone for now. They left the rogue trio along with Tiamat and Zatuji. Izuku and Blake knew Ruby's betrayal hurt her more than the betrayal hurt Blake, and Izuku's betrayal hurt him. Izuku was a bit used to be betrayed by friends that it didn't hurt much, but it still hurt due to how close he thought they have bonded, and Blake was surprised and it did hurt her, but she felt it was a bit deserved for her. But for Ruby it wasn't deserved. She found out she was nothing but a weapon and the so-called friends she have made also use her, but since her sister was one of them, nothing could hurt her more than that. After a while Ruby have calmed down, she was exhausted from the crying, she then have fallen asleep. Izuku, well, she have fallen asleep. Blake, what should we do with her? Izuku, I can carry her. Blake, alright. He then picked her up and bridal style, while her head rested on his chest. Izuku, I swear when I see that Ashpin guy and her sister, I am going to kill them. Blake, I can understand. Suddenly a small brown dragon with 2 roses on its body and a rose-like tail with green feather-like looking wings come to them. It was looking at Ruby. Izuku and Blake was looking at the small dragon. It then looked at him before bowing its head before returning to look at Ruby. Izuku and Blake mind, what is it doing and why is it looking at Ruby? Blake, do you want to be her familiar? The small dragon nodded its head. Blake, I am going to find Sona. They should be long due to that smoke cloud. She then left the two alone with the dragon. After a while Blake came back with Sona and Rias come back with their peerage, Tiamat and Zatuji. On her shoulder there was a black moth-looking creature. It had yellow spikes, red eyes, and some parts of its wings is red. Its abdomen looked to be the same as an earwig. They watched as Ruby was sleeping comfortably in Izuku's arms while the dragon with roses on its back was still watching Ruby. Izuku, I see you got a familiar. Blake, yep, this little fellow wanted me as its master, so Sona made a contract and transferred the ownership to me. And Sona, I think Ruby could gain a familiar due to this one have chosen her. Sona, alright, I will do the same thing I did for her. Pointing towards Izuku's familiar. Izuku, thanks. Zatuji, now this got a good ending, but what are we going to do with this? He stretched out his arms, showing still the frozen familiar forest. Well, we can't do anything except go ho. Suddenly he felt his ear being pulled by Sona. Sona, Saji. We have to help him get rid of the ice. Just because you couldn't get a familiar due to the forest being frozen doesn't mean you aren't going to help. Saji, how come that none that have just joined and that cat get a familiar while I didn't get anything? Blake, because we don't act like a fool and you forgot Issei getting a familiar too. Me, Asia, Izuku and Ruby are just lucky we got one, while me, Izuku and Ruby threaten Tiamat. Tiamat, I don't want to anger that boy. Izuku, hey Sona, could you transport me, Blake, Ruby and Asia back home along with our familiar? Sona, sure, I can do that. Saji, how come they get to go home? Sona, Asia is new as a devil and those three are not even in a peerage, so they don't really have to help. Saji, this is bullshit. Izuku, not our problem. Sona used a magic circle to send them back home. Back at their new place, Ingvild could be seen playing a card game with both the demonic girl and the child-looking being. She was losing pretty badly. Ingvild, how are you two so good at this game? And, if we told you how we are winning always, you will be pretty pissed off. Before Ingvild could say anything, the rogue trio and Asia come back along with their familiars. Blake, we are back. Ingvild, what happened in the forest? Izuku, Blake, can you explain? I will get her to bed. Blake, sure. Izuku went up to Ruby's room to put her in her bed to rest as Blake began to explain what happened in the familiar forest. When he got to her room, he entered before placing Ruby on her bed. He was about to leave, but he was suddenly pulled down into the bed by Ruby. He wanted to leave, but he suddenly heard a sad whimper. Ruby, please stay, I don't want to be alone. Izuku, don't worry, I won't ever leave you. She then smiled while Izuku had removed her mask and placed it on a nightstand. Before he began to take a nap, he saw in the middle of Ruby's chest, right where her heart is, there was an orange glow. Ruby's POV. Dreams have meaning. They can be anything, but they all had one thing in common. They were all weird in some kind of way. But this was more unnatural. I was standing in a city covered in vines and moss. I could move, but I felt it was better for me to stay where I was. Around me the vines moved like giant snakes. They began to move closer but suddenly stopped. Suddenly a moss clone of me appeared from the ground. Moss Ruby, does it still hurt? Ruby, does what still hurt? Moss Ruby, the betrayal. Ruby, no, I have accepted they weren't true friends. Blake and Izuku have really helped me throughout all of this. Mostly Blake, and I think it is time for me to let go of the past. I watch as the moss looking me just nodded. Moss Ruby, follow me. Ruby, why should I? I didn't get an answer. She have already left. I ran after me, her, whatever it was. I was following the clone. We ran for a while until we arrived what seemed like the heart of the city. I see a giant glowing ball covered in vines in the middle. Ruby, what in the world is that? I was suddenly grabbed by my moss-looking self and brought me closer to the ball. My moss self placed my hand on the ball. The ground started to shake as the ball get covered in a giant rose. Before the rose was covered by multiple plants, as it gained a reptilian head with rows of teeth. Its eyes were orange and reminded me that of a reptile. It stared at me. Suddenly the vines appeared around me and grabbed my limbs, and before I knew, I was forced straight into the giant orange ball, and then all I saw was an orange glow. Helping Asia to adjust being a devil and school. Ruby's POV. I wake up to the sound of my alarm clock. I slam my hand on it before going back to sleep. I continue to hug Izuku closer. I then wake up to see I was cuddling with Izuku. My face become fully red with blush that I could be mistaken for a strawberry. I didn't know how to respond. Izuku suddenly began to wake up. Izuku, morning Ruby. Ruby, morning. Izuku, can you let go? I quickly let go of Izuku. This was the most embarrassing moment of my life. How did I even end up in this situation? The last thing I remember was hugging Blake and Izuku while I cried, and then everything went black. Izuku, you passed out from crying. Ruby, now I feel pathetic. Izuku, no, it is because between me, you and Blake, you were the one most emotional hurt. I'd been betrayed by fake friends for a long time, so did it hurt for me? Yes, but I wanted to show them I was no one's weapon. Blake was a White Fang member. She knew her past would catch up to her. You on the other didn't expect a thing. People you thought were friends and family betrayed you. From what we have seen, your emotions was too much bottled up that one happy memory could make you let out a sad outburst of emotions. I began to tear up again before hugging him tightly. Ruby, thank you, I needed that. Izuku, anytime. Ruby, could I sleep in your room for a while, just for emotional comfort? Izuku, it's fine by me. Izuku then leaves me in my room. I check the date, realizing we have school today. I quickly switch out of my rogue clothes and into my school uniform. I head downstairs to see no one is awake except Izuku that is making breakfast. Ruby, what are you making? Izuku, I am making a rice omelette. Do you want to help? Ruby, I would love to. We began to make the breakfast together. When we were almost done, Blake and Asia came down. Both were in the academy's uniform. Blake, morning Ruby, morning Izuku, what are you making? Izuku, rice omelette, we are almost done. Blake, I can smell that. How come you didn't join at dinner yesterday? Ingvild went up to get you too, but she said that you didn't want to be disturbed. Izuku, well, Ruby was still passed out, and she didn't let me go due to fear of a person leaving her, so I just ended up falling asleep while she hugged me for support. Blake, I see. I just stick my tongue out before winking at Blake with a smug, playful look. She looked mad, but I just chuckled. Me and Blake have been together, and had each other's back ever since we went rogue. If we were alone in this, then we would have been dead a long time ago. So when Izuku came in the picture, we have been around him a bit for emotional support. We could tell that his betrayal didn't hurt that much, but he was willing to help us in any kind of way to make sure we gained a smile again. Ruby, Blake, are you going to eat breakfast or just standing there? Blake, I am going to eat. She grabbed a plate, before walking over to a table and began to eat the rice omelette. Asia grabbed one of her own, and I and Izuku finished making the last rice omelette before grabbing our own rice omelette. Izuku, so Asia, how are you feeling about today? Asia, I am quite nervous. I have never been to a normal school before, so this will be really new for me. Ruby, I can understand that, but Blake is with you, so you won't have to worry about it. Blake, explain. Ruby, simple. Asia, how old are you again? Asia, I am 17, why are you asking? Ruby, and she will probably soon be 18. I have barely turned 16 and Izuku is 16, but you are 17 and will turn 18. Blake slammed her head down onto the table in frustration. Blake, great, I have to teach you things and what happened in the school. Izuku and Ruby slightly giggled as Blake just pouted. Blake, not funny. Ruby, sorry, but to us it is quite hilarious. Blake flipped her off as the others came down the stairs. Ingvild, what is for breakfast? It smells good. Ruby, rice omelette. She finishes her plate before placing it in the sink. Izuku soon was finished with his, and then Asia and Blake follow after. Izuku, we are heading off. We will be back later. Don't destroy our new home while we are gone. Sure. What good do I get out of it? Ingvild, promise. No one's POV. Izuku, Ruby, Blake and Asia leave. On the way they explain about their school and how things work around. Asia nods as they have explained everything. Blake looked like she was not ready to deal with the headache that was going to happen soon. Ruby felt bad for her. Izuku, hey Ruby. Ruby, you need something, Izuku? Izuku, Let's ask Kaneko if she can ask Rias if we can join Asia on the first day as a devil, to make sure she is comfortable for the first day. Ruby, good idea. Blake, I will have to ask Issei if he can ask Rias if I can join Asia for her first day. They arrive at the school. Many people are shocked to see Asia there, as Asia gets nervous when everyone looks at her. Male student 1, who is that cutie? Male student 2, I don't know why she is with that guy. Male student 3, he always walks in with those 2 girls every day, now he walks in with a new girl, that lucky bastard. Female student 1, who is that new girl, she looks so cute. Female student 2, I don't know but she is walking in with Izuku. Female student 3, at least he isn't a pervert like most boys. Female student 4, you are right, Izuku is one of the only really few non-perverted boys. They enter the school as Ruby and Izuku walk to their class while Blake shows Asia where their class is. When Ruby and Izuku arrive at their class, they see Kaneko sitting at her desk. They walk up to her as she looks at them. Kaneko, what do you need? Izuku whisper, it's about Asia. Kaneko, go on. Ruby whisper, she is joining the occult research club. Kaneko, Ruby whisper, well, we were wondering if we could be there just for her first day. Kaneko, I will ask the president. I will give you her answer at the next class. They both nodded before sitting down at their seat. While with Blake she had to deal with everyone asking Asia multiple questions, she slammed her head onto her table wishing the earth would swallow her up. Issei, hey Blake, are you alright? Blake, I am, but these people are asking too many questions. Issei, I can understand. Blake, I kinda wish Izuku and Ruby were in this class, but they both are a year younger than me. Issei, well, you 3 are really close friends. Blake, hey Issei, do you think you can ask Rias if I can be at Asia's first day in the occult research club? Issei, sure, I can do that. Do you need anything else? Blake, nope, that is it. Issei, alright. With that, Asia was told to take a seat beside Blake and they begin their lesson. Asia needed a bit of help during the class. Blake and Issei helped her during that time and Blake made sure she wasn't uncomfortable. But during most of the lessons, the trio, even though they weren't together, just didn't want to focus on the lesson due to them finding it quite boring in their eyes. During recess, the trio meet up and sit and eat together. They were joined by Issei and Asia. Asia, the class was really interesting. Izuku, I wish that every girl didn't stare at me the whole class. Blake, how do you know they look at you? Ruby, sometimes I take a small schoolwork break and look around to see every girl except Kaneko take glances at Izuku. Izuku, I feel uncomfortable with those stares. Issei, well, at least you aren't Blake. I will admit that I am a pervert, but hanging out with you 3 can be a personality change. Izuku, is that good or? Issei, well, it is a good thing, but old habits die hard. Ruby, in your case, really hard. Issei rolled his eyes before he finished his food. He then left to go ask Rias. While the rogue trio were wondering what Asia first is going to do as a devil, they were curious of how things are as a devil. Blake, now that I think of it, normally when we patrol, we kill stray devils and scummy people, but we never took our time to study what they do other than taking care of stray devils. Izuku, you are right, we barely know anything about them. Ruby, I mean, we could ask Sona how things work as a devil. Izuku, we could, but we already ask a bit too much, and the only time we interact is when we need something. Ruby nods, showing she understands what he meant. This was not something they should ask about. They have their private matter and the devils have their own. This was not something they felt right to ask about. When recess was done, they split up again and arrive at their own classroom. When they enter, Kaneko was leaning on a wall beside the door, handing Ruby a piece of paper before walking back to her seat and stare at the board. Ruby opens the paper before nodding to Izuku. Ruby, we are allowed to be there. Izuku, alright, let's see how it goes. Hope nothing crazy is going to happen. Ruby, don't jinx it. Izuku, Ruby, the last thing I think won't happen is things being normal. Ruby wanted to say something but realized that he was right. The last thing that will happen is things being normal. Ruby, alright, I get your point, but do you think Asia will be alright with all this craziness? Izuku, are we talking about the same Asia that was being used by fallen angels? Because if we are, then you would realize that Asia's life was already crazy. Ruby just sighs, she couldn't argue. If anything, he was right. While with Blake, she was speaking with Issei and Asia. She felt the stares of the two biggest perverts in school. She glanced behind her before glaring at them. Blake, what do you two need? Motohama, I was studying your body measurements. Matsuda, and I was checking your good-looking body out. Issei, why did I befriend you two again? Ever since I met Blake, Ruby and Izuku, they have been better friends. Matsuda, come on Issei, we are good friends. Blake, there is a reason why I always drag Issei to my friends. Motohama, oh, and what is that reason? Blake, making sure that Sona actually knows who also peeped and was the one that actually peeped. Issei, she is true, but I will admit, I have done it a few times here and there, but Blake will drag me away by grabbing my ear. Kates, she acts like your older sister that is trying to keep you in check. They both look at each other before shrugging. Issei, I mean she is not wrong. Blake, true. The school soon ended and the trio followed the ORC devils they were in classes with to the club building. Upon reaching there, they were greeted with the sound of someone taking a shower. Izuku, who is showering at this point? Kaneko, president, is a stickler for cleaning herself. Akino, so she installed a shower, hope it won't distract you. Izuku was mostly facing a wall. This did catch the attention of Kaneko and Akino. Akino, so you don't even want to peep? Izuku, I would rather be called a virgin wimp than be labeled a pervert. Akino, aren't you just the cutest gentleman? Blake and Ruby gained a tick mark since they could see Akino getting too close to Izuku. If they had their weapon, they would have cut her head off. After a while, Rias came out the shower with her uniform on. Rias, hello rogues, it is nice of you to join Asia on her first day as a devil. I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long. Ruby, I am alright with the waiting. Blake, same, but can you get your friend to stop clinging to our friend? Rias could see that the two girls were mad at Akino being a bit clingy to Izuku. She could also see how Akino, for a weird reason, just seems to enjoy what she is doing, and this time not because she isn't enjoying seeing him squirm, which he was to get out of her grip on him. Rias, Akino, let him go. Akino, oh come on president, he is just so cute. Rias, Akino. Akino, alright. With that she lets go and takes a seat, while the rogues and Asia still stand up. Rias, welcome Asia and rogues. Asia, your first task for today is going to give out flyers. When the sun is setting, return here. Asia nodded before leaving. Izuku, Blake and Ruby leave with her. They watch from a distance as they watch Asia being shy to hand out flyers. Blake, she really needs help. Ruby, which of us should help? Izuku, we are all not good socially, but in Asia's case, she is worse socially than we are. Ruby, such a long isolation because of the church. They walked over to Asia because they wanted to give her a bit of help. Blake, hey Asia. Asia, what wrong Blake? Ruby, maybe try to walk over to people and ask if they want a flyer. Asia, but what if they don't want one? Izuku, then ask another person. Blake, and remember we are close by, so if you feel too nervous just come over to us so you can get a bit of breathing room. They then watch as Asia managed to approach some people and they took the flyer. When the sun was setting they head back. After they arrive back at the club they watch as Kaneko eating sweets, Akino coming in with tea, Issei looking like he just had the fun of his life, and Kiba was polishing his sword. Rias, welcome back. How many flyers did she manage to give away? Izuku took out his notebook. Izuku, around 23 flyers. The ORC, where did that come from? Ruby, that is what I am always questioning. How does he do that? Izuku just looked puzzled at her statement. The ORC could understand that. Asia was told she was going to do a contract. They follow Asia as they arrive at the person that requested her. Issei took her original one, so she had to settle with another one instead. When the rogue trio and Asia arrive they see that the person's house was a house closer to the forest of Ko with no neighbors beside it. It seemed to have a ground floor and an attic. The trio vanished behind Asia after she have ringed the doorbell. Coming. The person that requested Asia opens the door. She was in her mid-teens, she had long silvery white hair that reached barely above her knees, dark gray eyes, she wore a red shirt with a black skirt, a yellow jacket and yellow boots. Asia, greetings, my name is Asia Argento. Greetings Asia, you can call me Lily, why don't you and your 3 friends join me? The rogues come out from their hiding spots. Ruby was behind a tree, Izuku poked his head out of a bush and Blake was hiding behind a fence. Blake, how did you? Lily, come inside and I will explain. The trio go inside as they find themselves in a cozy-looking house, Lily gesturing to them to follow her into the living room. They walk inside to see Lily sitting on a couch. Lily, come on, take a seat. They all took a seat on a couch across from her. She still had a gentle smile on her face, but it creeped them out. Lily, so let's go to an explanation. As you can tell, not only did I know you 3 were here, but I also know you are a devil working for a grimoire. This shocked the 4 of them. Lily, anyways, let's play some games, how about Uno? She has a Uno deck in hand and they begin to play. After 5 games, almost everyone except Izuku and Asia was raging at this point. They glared at Izuku except Asia as he had been winning every game so far. After 5 more, Ruby threw her cards on the table. Ruby, that is it, I give up, how are you always winning? Izuku just shrugs as Lily sighs. Lily, this was fun, but how do you always win? Izuku just shrugged again. He would never say it out loud, but they were terribly shuffling the cards. The only time he had a bad hand was when he had shuffled them. Lily, well, that was fun while it lasted. Sorry for dragging you 3 into this. Izuku, it's alright, we are mostly here to learn what they do. Ruby, yeah, but I am kinda curious, how do devils make contracts here? Lily, well, if she promises to come around with you 3 and play a couple of games, I will sign a contract with her. Asia, wait, you just wanted to play a few games? Lily, yes, it gets kinda lonely here, so having someone to play a game with will be quite nice. Asia, alright then. Lily signed the contract before getting something for Asia. It was a book wrapped up in some papers. Lily, open this when you get back home. They then told her goodbye before they left. Lily watched as they headed back to the ORC. Lily mind, I hope they are ready for what is hoping to happen, because soon he will arrive. She then closed the door. While with the rogues and Asia they have come back to the ORC, Asia has explained what happened. She was puzzled how that girl knew that the rogues were there. Sometimes they could vanish from mere sight of the humans, but the girl somehow sensed them. Rias, that does sound interesting, but nevertheless could you manage to do a contract? She dismissed Asia and told her to head home. Rias looked at a clock and noticed she had to make a move now. She used a magic circle to leave the room. Before leaving the room, Akino just prayed a bit for her friend's plan to succeed, but she also had a bit of plan of her own. She made her own magic circle and vanished. Only for 2 people the next morning would get a surprise. Arrogant Phoenix and 10 days training. Izuku's POV. When I woke up with feeling another person hug me, I know one of them is Ruby, but when I felt another one hug me, I was thinking it was Blake, but I remember she only entered when Ruby annoyed her, so it couldn't be her. It couldn't be the demonic girl either. She have been shrinking for a while now. She almost looked like she is 8. It couldn't be the child either. The person is a bit too tall to be Asia and Ingvild know to respect privacy. I lift the cover and just stared in shock seeing who was hugging me while being naked. I hear Ruby yawn as she slowly opened her eyes. Ruby, good morning Izuku. Izuku, Ruby, could you slap me real quick? Ruby, why? Izuku, I need to know if I am still sleeping or if I am awake. Ruby instead punched me in the back of the head. I could definitely feel the pain, so I wasn't dreaming. Izuku, okay, I am not dreaming. Ruby, why do you think? She looked over to the side I was looking at to see Akino just sleeping. She seemed to enjoy her dream. Izuku, so want to pray a bit with me? Ruby just smirked evilly, so I wrote what she had to say. Izuku and Ruby, dear Lord in the sky, please punish this wicked one that has entered our home and make this devil feel your divine punishment. Amen God. Suddenly we heard a moan. We watched as Akino had a blush on her, as she was waking up. Akino, what a nice morning to wake up. Izuku, why the hell are you in my bed? Akino, why is Ruby in your bed? Ruby, emotional support, but why are you here and naked out of everything? Akino just smiled. Akino, the naked part is probably due to Risa's influence on me a bit on that one. Why I am here? Well, I wanted to see this cute fellow. She then hugged me into her chest, which embarrassed me. Ruby then pulled out her scythe and put it into sniper mode. Ruby, let go or I will get rid of you just like I did to the fallen angels. Akino let go of me, but I could tell that she wasn't happy about it. Akino, era, someone is a little feisty. When things couldn't get worse, it did. Sona transported herself in, and I just grabbed a pillow and screamed into it. Sona, Akino, why are you here? Akino, well, I just wanted to see this guy right here. She pointed to me, and Sona could tell by the look she gave me that she felt bad for me. Sona, Akino, remember what happened today. Akino suddenly lost her smile for a second before regaining it, but we can tell something is wrong. Izuku, Sona, us, what is going on? Sona, get some quick breakfast and come to the ORC. That was what I would have told you, Ruby and Blake. She left through a magic circle. Akino then changed into her school uniform. Akino, aren't you two going to change? Ruby, I will first when you leave. Akino, make me. I just sneaked away with my suit and went into the bathroom. I changed into it before going out to see Akino and Ruby having a glare contest. Blake, hey Izuku, are you awake? Blake has entered to see a glaring match between Ruby and Akino. Izuku, grab your rogue clothes. I will ask Sona if she can give us a day off today. She left to switch while I asked Sona if for today we can skip school. She told us it was alright. Izuku, are you two done having a staring contest? We have to be somewhere. Ruby, next time I'll slice you in half. Akino, try me, little rose. Ruby's heart glowed as her pupils gained a reptilian look. It scared Akino enough. Ruby then left to switch into her rogue clothes. Akino, not to be intruding. Izuku, you have already broken into our home. Akino, why are you wearing your rogue outfits? Izuku, no human knows of the supernatural world except me, Ruby and Blake. The supernatural world also doesn't know us and who we are. The last thing they need is to try to deal with us humans from another world. Akino, fair point. She then left me alone in my room, but I headed downstairs and began to make a sandwich for everyone inside our home right now. That also includes Akino. No one's POV. Ruby and Blake come down along with Akino and Asia. They watch as Izuku prepares their sandwich. Akino, wait, he can cook? Ruby, yes so? Akino just licked her lips. The two rogue girls were getting quite annoyed with her, and suddenly Blake's familiar flew to her. Blake, hey buddy, want to join us today? The small moth insect hybrid creature nodded. Izuku finished the last of the sandwiches and gave each of them one. Izuku, let's go there now. The two rogue girls nodded. Izuku, see you two there. Asia and Akino teleport in Akino's magic circle as the rogue went outside before jumping on top of the roof. They take a bite of their sandwich before jumping from roof to roof until they arrive at Ko Academy. They landed on a tree in front of the ORC building. Izuku used Black Whip to open the door before they quickly enter, and closed the door, making sure no one noticed them. Izuku, hey Blake, how is your familiar going to enter? Blake, I will open a window so he can enter. Ruby, well, let's see what made you gain a sour mood for a second. They walk up to the main floor to see a woman with silver-looking hair and a blue maid outfit. Miss Rias, who are they? Rias, these people are known as the Rogue Trio by Sona. She has made a deal with them, so if you want to know anything about them, ask her. The maid nodded. Blake opened the window as her familiar flew through. Are they in her peerage? Rias, no, they are humans. They just don't really follow anyone or any rules, but Sona has been keeping tabs on them. I see. Well, as long as Sona keeps them some kind of in line, then your brother doesn't have to worry about you. Suddenly the small moth-looking creature got a hateful glare in its eyes. In the middle of the room appeared an orange magic circle. Rias gained a glare, and so did most of her peerage except two people. Out came a man with blonde hair. He wears a burgundy blazer with gold embroidery on the right with matching pants and black dress shoes. Underneath his open blazer is a white dress shirt that is not fully buttoned, just one button short, giving a slight view to his chest. The rogue trio. Who is the blonde male that looks like he belongs in a certain club? This made the man mad and everyone snickered. Even the maid and Kaneko gave a small chuckle. How dare you three insult me? Do you have any idea who I am? Izuku, he sounds like someone from my world. Ruby, ouch. Blake, I want to say it doesn't sound that bad, but your tone makes me understand that it is, and we can agree he needs better clothes choice. This made most burst out laughing. Alright, let's calm down for a second. Rias, come on Graphia, you must find it funny seeing three humans manage to make Riser angry. Riser, they are human, Riser won't tolerate this disrespect? Sona then enters to see most of Rias' peerage including laughing their ass off. Sona, why is everyone laughing? Rias, I will explain later. Everyone except Akino that have left to make tea, the rogues and Graphia took a seat at a couch while Rias, even though everyone could tell she didn't want to, took a seat beside Riser on the couch he was sitting on. They watch as Riser caress Rias' legs while playing a bit with her hair. Akino then come back with a tray of tea. Riser took a cup and took a small sip. Riser, as delicious as always, Riser wouldn't expect nothing better from the queen of my soon-to-be bride. Akino forced a smile before bowing. Akino, thank you Lord Riser, you humble me. Suddenly a black whip appeared out of nowhere only to hit Riser's cup and spill the tea into his face. He grabbed his face a bit in agony. Izuku, oops. Riser glared at the boy when suddenly a phone rang. Ruby, hey, your phone is ringing. Blake, do you think it is about her? Izuku, probably. He picked up the phone. Azazel, hey, so should I send Rainier to your location? Izuku, let me ask Sona real quick. Hey Sona, it is about that one we spared in the church, should he send her over? Sona gained a smirk at this. Sona, sure why not, I think Issei may enjoy his new little maid. This confused everyone. Suddenly a magic circle appeared and out came an embarrassed Rainier in a maid outfit. Luckily for her it covered all her body, but unluckily she was still in one. Graphia, mind explaining why there is a fallen angel here? Issei, I also want an explanation. Sona, simple, they dealt with the 4 fallen angels that had infiltrated our territory. They spared this last one by making her Issei's servant, and she can't kill him. Issei, wait, so what you are saying is that she is my servant? Sona, yes. Issei gained a smirk, but not a perverted one. Issei, well guess I could punish her but not now. Rias, who had enough of Riser that had gone back to caress her leg and was getting a bit too close to an area, stood up. Rias, alright Riser, for the last time I will not marry you. Riser, but Rias, it is for our kind, and the council have made sure we will get married soon, so stop being so stubborn and just listen to the council and Riser. He grabbed her face but she slapped his hand off her. She then glared at Riser as both let out their aura but suddenly stopped when Graphia let out her own. Graphia, that is enough, this will all be solved with a rating game. Rogues, Asia, Issei, what is a rating game? Rias explains to them how a rating game works as she knew they didn't know. Riser, since Rias' peerage isn't completed I will give her 10 days to train, because unlike her, Riser has a full peerage. Suddenly a magic circle appear and out come 15 girls, with the youngest looking like kids and the oldest looking like royal queen. The rogues could tell he used the girl for more than just a rating game. It shocked Issei but Izuku, Ruby and Blake to a look at the blonde-haired girl in a pink dress before looking at Riser and then back at her. Izuku, I didn't know devils was into incest. Ruby, I should have expected less. Blake, is it really that surprising to you too? Riser and, we are not into that. The rogues could fool everybody. If the 2 Phoenix were not embarrassed enough, this definitely embarrassed them beyond what they once were embarrassed about. Riser, Mira makes them pay. The girl with blue hair and light brown eyes. Her hair is styled with 6 short ponytails, with 4 of the 6. The front of her hair features split bangs going across her forehead, with side bangs framing her face. Her outfit consists of a white haori with a red obi, which is worn under a red coat. She wears bandages on her forearms and shins, and wears black guards over her hands. For footwear, she wears a pair of Zora. She was about to hit Izuku, but Ruby kicked her in the head, sending her backwards. Riser, what in the? Ruby, we may be humans, but we are not normal humans. But hey, at least our intelligence isn't as small as yours, and at least we don't rely on anyone to do a job. Riser was about to lash out at them, but his younger sister stopped him. Riser, Ravel, let go of Riser. Riser are going to burn those humans into ashes. Ravel, it is not worth it, brother, please calm down. Sona, Riser wants to know what makes things less worth it. Riser, enlighten Riser, why isn't it worth it? Sona, well, the boy took down Tiamat by himself. That also include a beast that almost killed Tiamat. If it wasn't for her being able to fly, that girl with cat ears could have managed to assassinate multiple strays by herself. The shortest one with the cape will end up giving you nightmares, trust me. Blake, want to still fight you overgrown Thanksgiving turkey? Riser, TCH, not anymore. Riser would rather save Riser's strength for when Riser fights Rias in the raiding game. Riser notices that Issei looks a bit jealous of him and the girl he has. Riser, hey Rias Pawn, why are you looking jealous? Izuku, you still have that dumb dream of becoming a harem king, Issei? Issei, kinda, but not that much now. Riser gained a smirk. Riser, hey Eubelina, could you come here? Eubelina, of course, Lord Riser. She walked over to him before Riser grabbed her chin and began to make out with her. Izuku used Black Whip to block Asia and Ruby's view. He also noticed that Ravel looked really embarrassed by what her brother is doing. Riser then stopped as Issei glared at the phoenix. Izuku, he really made it even less convincing. Riser, first, stop assuming that, and second, well, too bad for your friend that he can't achieve what I already have achieved. Riser then turned around and was about to leave when the small moth suddenly had an idea and quickly shot a purple beam from its eyes that hit Riser's back. Blake, what was that for? Then it gave a small suggestion by nodding its head towards Ravel. She looked at Ravel before quickly whispered something to Izuku and Ruby, and both gained a smile under their mask. Izuku's back suddenly glowed as well Ruby's heart. Riser didn't notice, but suddenly he heard Ravel scream. He turns around to see Vines have grabbed her. Everyone in the room was shocked, but Riser quickly regained himself. He was about to save her, but suddenly a gust of wind blocked him from getting closer. Riser, let go of Ravel. The rogues, don't worry, we will, after the raiding game. Before he could do anything, the moth-like creature sent another beam and hit him. Izuku, Sona, we will take our leave. The wind picked up, making everyone cover their eyes. When the wind died down, they saw the rogues were gone and had taken Ravel with them. Sona, to be fair, I never could control them to begin with. They are rogue people for a reason. Rias I will send them to so they can help you train. Riser doubts those humans can help them train against Riser. He and his peerage vanished in a magic circle. Rainier, I pray for her. Kaneko, forgot you exist. Everyone same. Issei got a message from Izuku, then paled. Issei, so when we do leave, please tell them not to meet us there. Rias, no promises. Time skipped to the next day. If Rias Peerage thought things was going to be some normal training by having heavy things in bags and walk up the mountain, what they didn't expect was wearing weight that felt like they were heavier than whatever Kaneko ever have carried. What make things worse is Izuku and Blake brought their familiar with them, and Tiamat as well. But what make things even more worse was they not only had to take a harder route, but Ruby have transformed into a giant plant with a reptilian head and was chasing them. When they arrived at where they are going to stay, they watch as Izuku, Blake and Ravel that was wearing chef outfit have finished the food. Rias, we are never ever going to do that again. Izuku, don't worry, that was the only time, just for today. Ravel, you three are insane. Blake, you are always able to leave, so why did you actually stay? Ravel couldn't really answer. She could always leave, but she just didn't, mostly because they didn't really kidnap her. They jokingly did that, and just offered her some lunch and told her she could leave afterwards. maybe because how nice they actually do act when they want to make her stay. Revel, that is none of your business, cat. Blake rolled her eyes under her mask. She knew at this point Revel was just being stubborn. Izuku, how was the first day of training? Rias peerage, that was training, felt like a combination of a nightmare and torture. Izuku, calm down, we went easy. If we wanted it to be worse, we would have asked Sona if she can help making the terrain harder to get through. We could have them actually try killing you. Or we could make my familiar literally freeze everything around you. Kaneko, I am hungry, hand me a plate. Before Revel could say anything, Izuku had covered her mouth. Izuku, no prideful speech please. She just grumbled a bit in his hand. He removed his hand and went back to hand out plates of food. Izuku, alright, tomorrow you will all be in groups. Issei will train with everybody at least once except Rias for 2 hours. The rest of the time except breaks he will train with Tiamat and Rainer. Kaneko and I are going to spar together and Blake will spar with Kiba. Ruby will help Rias train. She have been a leader before so it will be good help for her. Akino will have to teach Asia some spells to use when fighting. Last, Akino is also going to train with both Kaneko and Kiba, as well with me and Blake. She is the queen piece but act like a bishop piece instead. Issei, I feel like the Tiamat part is your way of saying that I am in for a living hell. Tiamat, trust me, he is going to make it harder for the both of us. With that, everyone finished their food and went to their own separate rooms and went to sleep except Izuku. He went outside because he sensed something. Walking through the forest, he found a silver and white energy. When he touched it, his face cheeks glowed before it stopped. He heard a rumble, and out came a giant bug beetle-looking creature with 2 legs looking like arms with something that covered its arms kinda remind him of crystals. They stare at each other before it walked away and he followed it. But Blake had a nightmare or a weird dream that night. She looks around to see nothing but heard something. Everything around her looks like a void. Suddenly she felt a gust of wind. She then stood face to face with something in front of her. But the darkness hid most of it. Blake, what do you want? Do you regret what you have done? Blake, no. Can you face your demon? Suddenly Blake was back in Beacon. She was wearing the same outfit she wore the day she became rogue. She was in front of the door that changed her and Ruby's life. She took a deep breath before she kicked the door open. Ajban, miss. Blake, me and Ruby heard what you said. I don't care what you think. I have changed, but if you can't see that, then you don't deserve us in your school. They tried to stop her, but everything vanished, and she was back in the void before she felt a dark aura surrounding her. While with Kaneko, she felt like a once existing nightmare suddenly got eaten, and now she could have a nice dream. First day of training. The ORC except one person wake up to hear the sound of fighting. They walk outside to see Izuku sparring with Kaneko. They watch as she struggles to land a hit on him. Izuku, you may be physically more durable than me, but you lack the speed to keep up. Kaneko, TCH, just because you are fast doesn't mean I will yield that easily. Blake, 100 yen that she will collapse due to exhaustion. Ruby, 100 yen that she will be sent through a tree. Kiba, are you two betting on them? Blake and Ruby, yes. Suddenly they felt a gust of wind as Kaneko was on the ground in a crater. Issei, looks like both of you lost. Ruby made a peace sign before making a scissor motion. Issei, got it, I will shut up. They then hear 3 yawning. They watch as Rainer and Revel have come outside and Tiamat that has just arrived. Rainer, morning. Revel, good morning. Tiamat, good morning, why is she in the crater? Kaneko got up from the crater groaning in pain. Kaneko, did you really have to hit me that hard? Izuku, yes, your focus will be on speed and how to make more powerful punches. Kaneko, and endurance. Izuku, how many hits can you take from my punches? Tiamat, if you excuse me, I will grab this hatchling and train him. She then grabbed Issei before flying off while Rainer follow after. Akino grabbed Asia so she can teach her a few spells. Blake grabbed Kiba so they can train his way of using his sword, and Ruby grabbed Rias so they can start by training what to do while being a leader fighting with their comrades. Kaneko, so how much of your power will you use? Izuku, how does 45% sound? Kaneko, sounds alright, how much did you use beforehand? Izuku, 12%, try not to collapse too fast. Kaneko, even though she had an emotionless face, was crying on the inside, while with Rias she was speaking with Ruby. This part you can skip until Blake's part. This was more about switching the strategy a bit for Tay raiding game. They still will lose with Riser getting plot armor. Rias, so my plan is to have Issei go with Kaneko. Kiba will guard our base until there is no one going after it. Asia will be with me when we are going to fight Riser, and Akino will be in the air providing support. Ruby, could work, but there are a few flaws. Rias, what are these flaws? Ruby, even if Kiba managed to guard your base, there is a chance that he will send pawn pieces so they can promote. Even if you set up a trap, it will only work for so long. Make Kiba attack them without them noticing while they advance towards your base. Make sure he take them out one by one and fast. Kaneko may be strong, and with Issei it will make it harder to take her out. But if they are done with the pieces they are fighting against, have Issei grab Kaneko to get out of there by making him boost his speed. Last, make Akino get support because they will have something up their sleeves. Rias, that might work, but how can you be sure they have something up their sleeve? Ruby, is there anything they are allowed to bring that can help them but there is a limit on? Rias, there is something called Phoenix Tears that heals injuries and makes a person regain stamina that devils can use in raiding games. Ruby, you have now realized the problem? Rias, they can produce as many tears as they want, but there are only 2 allowed for each team. Ruby, we need to make sure that if they bring one, your peerage will manage to snatch that away. Rias nodded. While with Kiba he could be seen on the ground exhausted from his training with Blake. He might be faster than her, but her skills heavily outclasses his. Blake, you're fast, but I let myself have openings that you never noticed. You need to make sure that you notice those openings because they can change a fight more than you think. But you also need to know when there is a fake opening as well. Come on, one more time. Kiba, can I get a small break? Blake, either one more time or you can join Issei's training. Suddenly a loud explosion could be heard as everyone turned their head towards the location, and Issei could be heard screaming. Kiba suddenly got his energy back and quickly took a fighting stand. Blake, I see that motivated you. Now come at me with the intention to kill me. While with Issei he was trying to defend himself while fighting Tiamat. Rainier didn't help either. Her job was to make Issei weaker, and he wasn't allowed to boost unless Tiamat was close to kill him. Rainier, he is getting better. Tiamat, yeah, but I wish I could kill him. Rainier, I tried to, but Rias brought him back to life. Tiamat, want to be friends? Rainier, hell yeah. Issei mind, why did Drake choose me as his new host? Drake, shut up and run from that crazy dragon. Tiamat, Drake, remember, don't shout things to Issei while you are out in gauntlet form while we still can hear you. Issei, I hate you sometimes, Drake. While with Izuku he and Kaneko were taking a break, so he walked inside the forest again. Kaneko watched this and followed him. Izuku, why are you following me? Kaneko, curious where you are going. They walk for a few minutes until he has walked to a clearing and in the middle was a portal. Kaneko, where does that thing lead to? Izuku, I poked my head through and discovered it went to my world. Kaneko, how can you be so sure? Izuku, try to poke your head through it. Kaneko poked through to find out she was surrounded by water, and not long away was Japan, and there was a couple on the beach. The guy had a hair that looked like a porcupine, and she could tell it was sharp like one. His body was also have some sharp part, mostly his arms. The girl looked like she was made from grass. She then took out her head from the portal. Kaneko, your world looks weird, and that was also from 2 people making out. Izuku, trust me, that is a tiny fraction of the weirdness of my world. Come on, let's head back, your break is over. Kaneko gulped. She barely survived the start of the training, but she can't survive the next. Then come to Akino's training. If thing went smoothly, the rogues wouldn't look annoyed when they entered, but they all could tell they had just had the hardest training in their life. Akino come in while still apologizing to them. Rias, something didn't go so well. Izuku, she really is more like a bishop than a queen piece. Blake, she needs the most work out of everyone. Issei, how bad did it go? Akino, so my training is going to be 3 hours with each of them. Sword training with Blake, reaction and speed training with Ruby, and lastly strength and endurance with Izuku. Kanako, I pray for you. I will actually pray to the one that rules heaven that you survive. Akino gulped. She could tell that during these training the rogues will be ruthless towards her, and this time she is not going to like it. They then ate dinner before almost everyone headed to bed. While the devils, dragon and fallen angel went to bed, the rogues looked outside as a glow appeared. It reminded them of the same portal they entered this world from. They looked at each other before they headed towards the glow. After 9 days. Ruby, good luck Rias. Rias, I hope the strategy works. Ruby, unless Riser either gets lucky or he actually also trained, I don't think so. Tiamat, why wasn't I allowed to join them? Izuku, you may be Issei's familiar, but if some of the devils see you being Issei's familiar, and he is the Red Dragon Emperor. Ravel, why aren't I allowed to go? The devils will try to kill you three when they found out about you three kidnapping me. Blake points towards the two giant familiar that is looking at her. Ravel, I am taking my statement back. Blake, Kiba, remember about the strategy we talked about? Kiba nodded. Kiba, got it, they won't know what hit them, but I do feel bad though. Ravel, are you sure I can't go? Izuku, nope, in this case you will have to stay here. Ravel, I don't even know the strategy Rias and Ruby came up with, mostly because you will carry like a bride away Yubaka. Everyone's mind, she is such a tsundere. They all then left except for those that aren't allowed. Ruby, they are totally going to lose. Blake, the Devil Council will do some bullshit. Izuku, Riser's arrogant act gave it away. Ravel, I really wish I could say no, but you are right. Tiamat, you are only safe since you are in your brother's peerage. Ravel, for how long, who knows? Tiamat then left. Rainier, well, I am heading to the pervert's house as a free maid there, have a nice day. Izuku, let's head home for the bad news. Ravel, can I at least? She was picked up by Izuku again in a bride position. Izuku, can't let you on that one. Ravel went on to have a tsundere tantrum while Izuku only had one thought. Izuku, mind, whatever thing you are, I beg you please bring Eri to me safely. Crashing a forced wedding in favor of the Maos. No one's POV. The rogues could be seen speaking with Ravel when Sona arrived. It was getting dark outside. Sona, they lost. Izuku, wasn't surprising. Sona, explain. Ruby, the Devil Council needed Riser to win, they probably rigged it so Riser won. Blake, you wouldn't mind us coming with you. Sona, bring your familiar with you, first time I want you three to cause chaos. The rogues just smirked. Izuku, anything we need to wear? Sona, you can wear something fancy, just have your rogue clothes ready, you will really need them. Ruby, alright, time to change out of our clothes. Blake, and into some fancy ones. Izuku, long time since I last wore a fancy suit, time to wear a new one. They head upstairs as Sona looks at Ravel. Sona, so how has it been staying here for 2 days? Ravel, well. Flashback. Ravel, put me down you. Ruby, relax princess, you are free to go after lunch. Ravel, pardon? Izuku, did you really think that we would kidnap you just to tick off your brother? Ravel, kinda. Blake, we just joked. Izuku, Blake and Ruby begin to make lunch as? And? Come down. What are you making? The rogue, fried rice and 3 bowls of ramen. Why only 3? Izuku, just for me, Ruby and Blake. They then finish making the food. Ravel sit at the table and begin eating the fried rice. She listened to the other beginning to speak with each other. She could not tell how, but whenever the group spoke with each other, it seems like it doesn't bother how they rogues act beforehand. They have completely switched personality. When they were done eating, the rogues took her bowl as they went to clean it up. Izuku, you can leave now if you want to. Ravel, actually I kinda want to observe you 3 if you don't mind. Blake, couldn't care less. Ruby, try not to bother us too much. Flashback over. Ravel, after that I just enjoyed the new company there is here. Sona, Well, there is always a nice atmosphere here. Ravel, was that sarcasm? Sona didn't answer. They suddenly see the rogue trio come down, all three wearing something fancy. What they are wearing is on the picture above. Those that made the art deserve the credit. Sona, when did you get time? Izuku, it was originally if there was going to be a school prom, but instead we use it at that devil party. Ruby, so when does it start? Sona, I will head home, change then come back to pick you three up. Ravel, I will head to the underworld and change. Both disappear in a portal as Izuku and Blake's familiar was close by them. Ruby was trying to control her new powers. Blake, hey, have you three had a nightmare recently? Izuku, well, I had one about a dragon that almost consumed me, but then I woke up. Ruby, I was absorbed into a giant plant monster. Blake, I had a nightmare about the past as a creepy voice asked about if I regret what I have done, and asked if I can face my demons. The two look at Blake with curiosity in their eyes. Blake, then I was back in Beacon, but instead of running away from what they talked about, I confronted them, then I couldn't remember what happened afterwards. Izuku, sounds like a weird nightmare. Ruby, I have given up on my anger on Beacon for a long time, I am just forgetting it by now. Sona then appeared in her fancy dress. Sona, ready? They all three nodded. Sona, are those two going to? Izuku and Blake, yes. Sona, rogue suits? Izuku, we got that one covered as well. Sona then transported them to the party. Luckily they were one of the first to arrive, but unlucky for Sona, she was ambushed by her older sister. Sona, get off me, Seraphal. Seraphal, come on Sotan, don't you miss your favorite older sister? Sona, please, this is so embarrassing, especially in front of them. Seraphal then looks at the rogues. Seraphal, so they are the famous rogues that you have been talking about. She then let go of Sona and suddenly was in front of them. Seraphal, hi, I am Seraphal Leviathan, the current Leviathan Mao. Izuku, I am Izuku Midoriya. Blake Belladonna. Ruby, and I am Ruby Rose. Seraphal, nice to meet you three, you act way nicer than Sona make you sound like. The rogues, trust us, we will cause chaos and we will help someone when he arrives. Seraphal wondered what they meant but left it be for now and went to find her fellow Maus. While with the rogues they were speaking with Sona until. Kiba, why are you three here? The rogues turn around to see Kaneko, Akino and Kiba standing there. Sona, I took them with me, also we all know Issei will do something and they probably will help him due to their love for chaos. Kaneko, how are you sure the pervert will come? Izuku, bet that he will arrive and claim something stupid. Kaneko, I will take you up on that bet. Kiba, you two are unbelievable. Sona, I am really wondering what is going to happen. Ravel then appears behind Sona. Ravel, hey, you three have a problem. Izuku, what problem? Ravel, my brother Ravel wants to kill you three for kidnapping me. Izuku, let him, I will make him shit from his mouth. Everyone looks their way as Sona face palm. Sona, wait before causing chaos until Issei arrives. The rogues, we will try to. Suddenly they heard a fork hitting a glass. Everyone turned their attention and right in front of them stood Riser in a white tuxedo. Riser, today we will celebrate since Riser and Rias can finally be together as it was destined to, now to the new member of the Phoenix family, Rias Gremory. An orange circle appeared as Rias came out in a white dress. She had a sour look on her face but she couldn't do anything. Izuku, hey Sona, is he close? Sona, Issei? I do sense him, but what does? Suddenly the doors were kicked open as Issei came. Issei, Riser, I have a feather to pluck from you, overgrown fried chicken. Riser, you dare come here? Issei, I do dare. Riser, guards, kill him. The rogues, show time? Sona, now whatever you cause will be on you, have fun. Izuku emitted a purple smoke as everyone couldn't see. Some devils use wind magic to get rid of the smoke and the rogues was now in their rogue clothes, while Blake and Izuku's familiar was in their true size and the rogues was on Izuku's familiar. Izuku, onwards my friend. Izuku's familiar charges at the guards and freezes them, and Blake's familiar hits them with its beams. Issei, thanks. Izuku, no problem, now show that turkey who is the real strongest one between him and you. Issei nodded as he looked towards Riser. Issei, Riser, I challenge you for Rias Gremory? Riser will not. Oh, you will take him up on that challenge. Riser, Lord Surzek. Surzek, I did some digging and found out that the Council and you, having sabotaged the game, in case you were winning multiple magic circles, will drain all of my sister's peerage's strength and make them weak. Riser gulped at this. Surzek, now Issei, was it? If you win, what else do you want? Issei stated what he wanted. We all know what he asked for, but if you don't know, it will be on AO3. This story is posted there. And Surzek chuckled a bit but allowed it. Riser, this is madness. Surzek, well, there is always those three and their familiars. Seraphal, hey Surzek, why not give them a favor since they helped your sister train and they are helping right now? Surzek, what do they want as a favor? Izuku, for Sona to get an extra peerage. Hold on, she can't just get an extra one. Come on Ajuka, why not give her an extra peerage? Ajuka, give me one good reason. Falbium. Ruby, simple, we aren't from this world, we can give you information about our worlds. I also have brought something you can study. Ajuka, how can I be? He suddenly caught a blue crystal. He looked at it before he felt that it was not from the human realm, not from the underworld. Ajuka, let me study you three a bit, and I will accept the deal. Blake, alright, but no trying to gut us open. Ajuka, deal. Riser, you can't believe them that easily. Ajuka, the girl's story holds true, whatever this crystal is, it is not from here. Either way, I want to fight the boy. They all look towards the voice. They see Riser and Ravel's older brother Ruvel standing there glaring at the rogue trio. They glare back at him. Lord Phoenix, are you? Ruvel, positive. Ruby, will you be alright with it? Izuku nodded. Izuku was brought into an arena and on the opposite side was Ruvel. Ruvel, I will kill you for kidnapping Ravel. Izuku, she was always free to leave, we never thought she actually would have stayed. Ruvel, doesn't matter, time to pay. He charged towards Izuku and Izuku charged towards Ruvel. Izuku was covered in a white and silver glow before dodging a punch from Ruvel. He then punched Ruvel with a silver fire fist. Ruvel ended up being sent flying into a wall. Izuku charged up one for all and rushed Ruvel. Ruvel created a barrier to block Izuku's attack. While in the depths of the underworld, close to the dragons, a volcano erupted as a loud roar could be heard. Every dragon felt fear as someone have awakens a dangerous ancient dragon that chose to go into a deep slumber. It sent orange and fired red energy out from its fist, and the energy flew towards something. While with Ruvel and Izuku they were still going, but Izuku struggled a bit. Ruvel began using Hellfire and Izuku counters with his Silver Fire, while with the spectators. Seraphal, it is impressive, he is able to keep up with Ruvel. Sona, no, he is holding back or something is weakening him. She looks around to see multiple elder devils from the council using magic on both arenas. The Maus as well, the two rogue girls and Rias Peerage see this. Surzek, what are you doing? Random Council Member 1. We are making sure they don't win. Random Council Member 2. Yeah, if these brats win then our race won't survive. They also need to be punished for what they have done. Ajuka, this will really backfire on us. While with Issei, he was in red armor with green eyes and gems. He punched Riser through an arena wall, and Riser ended up in Ruvel's arena. Riser isn't done yet, brat. Issei, oh, I think you are done. Drag, boost. Izuku, one for all, full cowling 80%. He then hit Ruvel into the ground as a giant crater formed. He never knew why, but he felt his strength leaving him slowly. Izuku mind, something isn't right. He then summoned up a lot of wind around him and everyone that is watching. Suddenly all devils couldn't feel their magic leave them as they looked towards Izuku. Izuku cracks his knuckles before he was enveloped by a orange, fiery red and a small bit of purple and black. His back glowed as it looked like there was wings on it. Izuku then punched the ground as a fire pillar shot out of the ground beneath Ruvel, burning him. When the fire stopped, he glared at Izuku and Izuku glared back. Ruvel, just because you have gotten more power doesn't mean that I will go down that easily. Izuku, well, I hope you won't go down easy, because then the fight would already have been over. Rival was surrounded by a fire-like aura and Izuku was the same, but his was also purple, silver and a crimson red. The mere pressure those two leaked out made everyone freeze in place as they all watched them just staring each other down. Either of them made a move as the air becomes thicker. Suddenly both vanished from everyone's view only for a gust of wind to happen from an explosion when Izuku's fire hit Rivel's fire. Surzek, he must be really strong. Ruby, even though me and Blake have seen his strength, this is way too shocking. Sona, I have only seen a fraction of his strength, but this is beyond what I expected. Ajuka, must mean he is using his sacred gear. Everyone, explain Lord Beelzebub/Ajuka. Ajuka, look at his back and body, they have a faint glow of a crimson-red color, meaning that he is using some kind of unregistered sacred gear. Ruby, does the glow from my heart also mean the same thing? Ajuka, only time will tell. For now let's see how the two young boys will handle the two Phoenix brothers. Ruvel sent a barrage of fireballs towards Izuku, but he sidestepped away. While with Issei that was struggling now against Riser, he was out his balance breaker due to him not being used to it. He sent a dragon shot at Riser. Riser countered by making a barrier that was cracking and sent out a wave of fire. Issei sidestepped but managed to get away almost unharmed. He was a little burnt but nothing that could be healed from. Riser, stand still so Riser can kill you. Issei, sorry but dying isn't on my bucket list. He then managed to punch Riser. Drag, Issei boost as many times as your body can handle. Issei got it. Issei started to boost himself, while with Ruvel, he was being beaten up by Izuku. He couldn't do anything except take the beating as everyone saw Izuku continue to brutally beat up Ruvel. Some people have even fainted, some have peed themselves, and last some just stood there not knowing what to do. Ruby, should we stop him? Blake, no, let him beat him a little more. Ravel, I feel bad for my brother, Lord Beelzebub. Could you transport me there? Ajuka nodded as he used a magic circle to transport her beside Izuku. Izuku was about to hit Ruvel one last time with his fist covered in a silver, fiery red and purple flames before some grabbed his arm. Ravel, Izuku, he had enough. Izuku looked to see Ruvel struggle to heal. He looked like he was about to go unconscious. Izuku felt a bit conflicted. On one hand he could get rid of him, on the other he could allow him to live with his pride destroyed. Izuku, tch, fine. Izuku lets go of Ruvel as he falls to the ground. Izuku turned around and began to leave. Izuku, how does mercy taste hitch? They then hear a thud to see Riser about to lose consciousness. Riser, how did a pervert like you beat Riser? Issei, you were overconfident, believing after the raiding game you could beat me. News flash, the council helped you and you knew. Izuku, come on, let's get out of this arena. A magic circle transported them back into the room. Surzek, congratulations for winning both of you. Ajuka, that power you used alongside your sacred gear, what was it? Izuku, that is called a quirk, it is like my superpower. Ajuka, interesting. Seraphal, well, since you won, what else do you three want? Sona, now I am also curious, what do you actually want? Blake, why do you think we asked you to get an extra peerage? Sona, wait, you are actually. Ruby, but on one condition. This caught everyone's attention. Ruby, we don't want you to control us. Sona, but why join the extra peerage? Blake, well, if you want a short explanation, we want to join, but at the end of the day we are rogue people, so we don't follow any rules anymore. Sona, I see, I can agree with this. Random Council Member 3, they are way too dangerous, they need to be made sure they won't step out of line. Sona then begins to take a thinking pose. Sona, how many humans and stray devils have they killed by now again? This shocked the council. Ruby, the human we have killed around 39 at least in a month, stray devils I have lost count. Blake, yeah, some of those stray were not even worth it, the rogue fallen angels were more of a challenge than them. Seraphol, they really have been doing yours and Rias' work. Sona, a small price for them not to both kill me, Rias and our peerage, that, and they have been a lot more helpful than you think. Seraphol, alright, but there has to be someone that needs to check up on them if they join your peerage. Falbium, true, but who should look after them? It has to be someone strong. Surzek agreed. Random Devil Council 1, well, why not make one of the Maos look after them? Ajuka, that could work, but who is dumb enough of us to look after them? They all look at Seraphol, and Sona cries on the inside to know her sister will be even closer to her than before. Seraphol, what? Surzek, I am so sorry to say this, but I think everyone here have agreed you will be the one to look after them. Seraphol, eh? Ajuka, yeah, it will be for the better, mostly because they will be a part of your sister's peerage. Seraphol suddenly lit up with joy. Izuku and Ruby just patted Sona on her shoulders while Rias just looked at Sona with an understanding face. Sona, why must I suffer? Izuku, sis and brother cons are the worst. Ruby, tell me about it, at least she didn't betray you. Sona, how bad are your two's sister? Ruby, embarrassing is one thing, but she will literally cuddle me my whole life if it wasn't for the day me and Blake got betrayed. Rias, at least it was your sister. Grafia needs to stop him sometimes when he is in her sis-con mode. Sona, what about you, Izuku? They just see Izuku shiver a bit. Izuku, I am glad you aren't me then. Rias, can't be that bad. Izuku, I may love her, but the only thing that have made sure that I wasn't kidnapped into a forest and ended up with her as my so-called wife was my mother managed to stop her after she drugged me. Sometimes in her mind is that the only person that can love me the most between everyone, that also included our mother, was her. Sona, yikes. Izuku, lucky it is only with a certain trigger. Rias, what is the trigger? Izuku, all of my emotions except happiness or when I never react. Long story short, I always kept myself from having any reaction when she was around. Sona, when did she show such behavior? Izuku, don't know, she just tried to spoil me with affection one day when we were kids after I protected her, and showed some brotherly affection. Sona, well, I have to transport you back. Izuku, well, goodbye everyone, that is good, to the council go buck yourself. They then were transported back to their home by Sona with their familiar that have shrunk back to pet size. Blake, well, I am going to bed, good night. Izuku, same, but I am going to take a bath first. Good night, Blake. Blake heads to her room and Izuku heads to his room. Ruby did follow him to his room. Ruby, hey Izuku, I want to talk with you about something. Izuku, what is it? Ruby, I will tell you when everyone is asleep and can't hear. Izuku, alright. When they got to his room and Izuku closed the door, he then began to take off his clothes as Ruby was staring at a wall to not peek at him, even though she already once had, but he doesn't know. Ruby, Izuku, you are a good person. Izuku, thanks Ruby. Ruby, you have helped me and Blake so much that I couldn't be more thankful. Izuku, that's what I wanted to do in my own world, I wanted to help everyone. Ruby, I see, but back to the point, Izuku, I can't help but love you for what you have done. Izuku, I also love you too. Ruby, I also love everyone else that I have grown close to. Ruby sighs before walking up to him. Then she hugs him from behind. This made Izuku really nervous. He looked her in the eyes. She had a faint pink glow in them, but it wasn't noticeable. Izuku, Ruby, what are you doing? Ruby, Izuku, listen, I love you, not as a friend but actual love. You have treated me and Blake nicely. Always try and make us happy, protect us. Your heroism that shows up from time to time, it made me fall for you. Ruby, mine, Blake as well, but she has to tell you herself. Izuku, Ruby, are you sure? He then felt her lips touch his. They then kissed for a while before she looked him in the eyes. Ruby, hope that answers your question. He then nodded his head before she then gave him another kiss. After a while Izuku had taken his bath. He switches into pajamas and Ruby has switched into her own. They then cuddle before they fall asleep. While with Blake, she looks up at the ceiling. Blake, mind, you might have gotten a head start, but I will catch up, Ruby. She then fell asleep as they felt a threat soon will come, but something will also soon arrive. While in Izuku's world, chaos was everywhere, and the giant monster Izuku encountered during the 10 days training could be seen walking towards the ocean while keeping its mouth closed while Almight and Inko tried to stop it along with everyone from UA. While with Eri. Eri mind, please dad save me.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.